Alright guys, we are gonna just start with the PM Masculinity podcast. That's what I'm gonna call it. Gonna start with good content today. Before we start with the good Andrew Wilson content, we're gonna just go straight to some, manosphere and red pill content. This one is called She Demanded Husband Accept Her Paternity Fraud, Instantly Regrets It. Then we're gonna move to a debate with Andrew Wilson and Soypill, I think his name is. Yeah. Thank you so much for support, guys. I tried to just send the notifications in my channel, in my live, but I don't know how to do this. There was no option to do it, so I'm just gonna wing it. Hopefully we can just do at least 2 hours or 2 hours and a half of the debate, and we can just get some information, get some good content from Andrew. For the meantime, let's just start with this video. Let's jump.
3-year-old daughter and got tested today. And it said that I am.
Wait, why you take my baby to go get tested anyway? What kind of test, first of all?
I went and got a DNA discovery thing so you find out where you come from, and kind of find out the child doesn't come from me. Yeah, 5 years. I can't even go crazy right now because the kid's asleep. So I'm trying to stay calm.
You raised her.
We have 3 children, and the last one is not mine. How's this possible? Well, we know how it's possible, but guess what? Because the kid's asleep, I'm not going to turn violent. I'm not going to call you a bunch of names or cause a big scene. But you and that 5-year-old, who I do love, is going to have to leave the place.
Damn.
No, because I pay bills here too, and her brothers and sisters is here. You ain't never about to separate my kids.
You are on none of the bills with your name. Technically,
yeah, okay, whatever.
You don't have your ID that says you live here. 1, 2, you see what that says.
Why would you do this?
What you mean, why would I do that? Are you serious right now? Now I don't give a... What do you mean, why would I do that?
That's still your child.
No, that's your child.
You raised her for
No,
5 years.
that's
Why
your
would you
child.
what?
And yes, I do love her. I'm not denying that.
I mean, you're not
But I
showing
can't
love.
continue to raise a child that's not mine. I'm not doing
Love.
that. What kind of father would I be to my other 2 children to show them the kind of weak man raises a kid that's not his?
What kind of man raises a child for 5 years and then try to kick her and her mother out?
No. What kind of woman portrays
There you go
that
with the
as
child
a
language.
child for 5 years?
Okay, it was a mistake.
A mistake?
And you raised her.
A
She
mistake.
knows
A
you
mistake
as
is putting extra ketchup on my French fries. A mistake is accidentally turning off the TV.
This is ridiculous.
How do you accidentally get pregnant by somebody else? Do you even know who the father is?
It doesn't matter who the father is.
It doesn't matter who the father
No, it
is.
does.
Just right now?
We've been in this house for 5 years raising that baby, and the other 2, they know each other as they know you as daddy.
No, yes, daddy, father, papa, all that good stuff. But guess what? It is what it is. You wasn't honest back then, and I'm gonna be honest with you right now.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? So I already called the police to come escort you out of here.
Damn.
You
Hey, Scott, you called the police
100% because I didn't want no arguments. 100%. I didn't want no arguments.
You just
I didn't want no
started
fight.
one.
No. I ain't starting no argument.
you did.
I am ending a problem.
Oh my gosh.
That's what we're doing.
Now we're a problem.
No.
Now we're a problem.
Like I said, I'm not gonna lie. I love the little girl, but I'm not gonna continue to be a father to a child that's not mine, and I'm not gonna be loyal to a woman who was never loyal to me.
This is ridiculous. I can't believe you didn't do this shit.
She belongs to the streets.
As usual, when caught
Yeah, man. DNA test should be mandatory right out the bat.
red-handed and confronted for something she knows she did, she tries to flip it onto him, making it seem like he's the evil one for getting a DNA test while she's completely innocent. Like he said in the video, she didn't accidentally get pregnant by another man. She did so knowingly, and then lied to him that he was the father. I'm glad he called the police ahead of time and recorded it, because if she is willing to lie about the paternity of her kid, she is willing to lie to the cops to get him in trouble.
So you take accountability for cheating on your husband and getting pregnant by another guy.
Christ. Do I have to explain myself to you?
No, you don't have to explain yourself to me.
Myself to you?
Maybe you
And
should explain yourself to the world.
nice outfit, by the
You are
way.
a cheating
you
wife.
Look exactly.
You are a cheating
as
wife.
You are a clown. Okay? You are a freaking clown.
Yeah, and you're a
That's
pregnant
what
whore.
you are.
And you're a pregnant whore.
Wow.
No!
What?
Please, Jasmine.
What, Jasmine?
Okay, guys.
It's okay.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
She's Hispanic. She gonna always throw that candle.
Get
If the black, I gotta be
Get
told.
in my face.
I just did.
Girl posted, I got married in 2019.
That's a crazy, abusive lady, man.
2020, I went into a psychosis and got diagnosed with bipolar. I accused him of rape. I hit him. I ran from him. My brain was telling me he was the devil and our whole marriage was built on a lie. Wanted to leave, but he didn't flinch. He didn't run. While I was placed in the mental hospital, he was waiting for me when I got out. 3 years later, it happened again. If you love someone who goes through psychotic breaks, you are so strong. Your calm words, your faith, your love speaks volumes. Real love doesn't run, it stands firm. In the comments, there were a bunch
This is infantilizing females.
of women commenting how brave she was and congratulating her for getting through this. And maybe some of that is true, but can you imagine if it was a dude who did all of that to a girl, what they would be saying? Sorry, but if you lie on somebody and throw accusations of rape on them that aren't true, they should not stay with you. If a dude hit a woman and then blamed it on his mental health diagnosis, would people be out here calling him a hero? That whole entire thing is a hard pass for me, but what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments.
Nothing they do is wrong or their fault, so obviously they're not going to see the obvious issue with her saying she falsely accused him and physically abused him.
You give birth. The doctor comes into the room and asks your husband and only your husband if he wants to do a DNA test to make sure the baby's his. He says yes. Is he wrong for that?
Yes, he is wrong for that. If he wants to do it, I'ma do it, and he won't have a wife by the end of it.
Get the DNA test, make sure it's yours. She got a problem with that? She doing something. I'm gonna be honest, she doing something.
Yeah, he's in the wrong. You should have all your trust in your wife, and you shouldn't have to question whether she's cheating or anything. We both agree that it's fucked up. That's a little messed up because you don't trust your wife who just gave birth to your child.
Sign language. That's all they have. Sign language.
Oh, come on.
Well, clearly, as we just saw, men cannot simply trust a woman just because that's his wife. As a liar, he's going to lie regardless of their affiliation to you. I'm sure it would be amazing if men didn't have to worry about their wives cheating and could be sure that the child is theirs. But in reality, this isn't always the case. Remember, gentlemen, the women who have a problem with DNA testing almost always have something to hide. It's better to be sure then to find out you've been lied to later on.
Y'all, so this girl was like, any man in my life gotta be paying a bill. So I asked her, okay, what would you rather have, $500,000 or $700,000? She said, duh, $500,000.
In it. No, it's in it. I ran out of boxes, I promise. It's in there. That's the last. It's inside of there, I promise.
Oh, okay.
Look in there. Yeah. Yeah.
What is this?
DNA test
test
report. Yeah. 0% paternity probability. Yeah. Yeah. Our son? Nah, yeah, that's not me. This right here say my son ain't my son, and you ain't even got nothing to explain because this explained it already. Yeah, matter of fact, no, it's not. Go to the next page. I'm gonna show you how much I'm joking. I'm gonna show you divorce settlement agreement. Divorce settlement. I already pre-made it up. Divorce agreement. It's up.
What is
you know what that mean? That mean we over with. We over with. Get out my house. Get out my.
If a man ever fixed his
Yeah, don't do this, man. Just take care of business and just let her go.
mouth and told me to make him a sandwich,
Uh-huh.
this is probably the one I'd make. It has turkey, lettuce, tomato, cheddar cheese, a little bit of mayo, and a little bit of mustard. It's probably the best sandwich you can make.
Hell yeah. Mint.
My biggest contribution to society is that I am proof that you can be loud, annoying, crazy. I don't clean, I don't cook, I don't do any of the housewifey things, and still have a man who is successful, dotes on me, loves every single little inch of me, and you don't need to be submissive. Men are supposed to be submissive. We've got this all wrong. This new narrative of modesty, and if you want to be modest, that's fine, but let's not tell women that they need to be these things for a man to like them, because it's not true.
Get your woman under control. This is unacceptable. How is any of this
Yo, how is this acceptable?
okay? I'm loud and annoying, and my husband still simps for me. Ugh.
Put plainly, she does nothing but create problems and headaches. Yet she still has a simp willing to bankroll her lifestyle. She prides herself on contributing absolutely nothing beyond her body in exchange for money. There's a word for that. though I doubt she'd like it.
Here are the results of the paternity test.
It's kind of fake. Look like a skit.
Come on, dog. Come on, dog.
What?
Come on, bro.
What you doing all that for?
Read this paper. What the f this say?
What you mean? What?
You see this body language right here? This is abusive body language. You see how he just bending his back a little bit? That means he gets physical.
What does that right
Very
there?
dangerous.
They need to do this over.
Nigga. I'm not the father.
See, look at that.
I'm not the father. I ain't
That's
paying no more
crazy.
child
They need to
support.
do. No, they need to do this over.
I ain't paying no more child support, dog. I swear to God, I already knew it, bro. Is everything okay?
Who is most domestically violent towards women?
Surprisingly, it's actually women.
That's Myra Gaines,
not.
yo.
Yeah,
Love
no,
it.
actually, no. The highest domestic violence actually occurs a lot of the times
Yo,
between
man,
same-sex
shadow ban
individuals
ourselves,
who are
bro.
women. They did a whole meta-analysis on this. What they found was when there's violence only going one way, where one partner is beating on the other, it's typically women to men. They're beating on the man. But the majority, obviously, of like domestic violence is they beat on each other. It's really the women that tend to be more violent with that stuff because women don't have a proper concept of violence. When men deal with each other, there's already inherent respect to a degree because we understand that we're capable of killing each other, right? Because we have the physicality to do so. Women don't understand this that much for a multitude of different reasons because, you know, obviously we live in a civilized world. Men don't really attack women like that, which is good. Women, when they do fight with each other, they're weak, so who cares? They don't understand the consequences and ramifications of it.
But who commits more violent crimes?
Men do in general, for sure.
Yeah, and it's against women a lot of the time.
Well, it's actually mostly against us.
Oh, it is against other men
It's
because
against
men are
us.
like a majority.
Yeah.
It's men, yeah.
Yeah, but men also create the world that you live in. Like, there's going to be pluses and negatives.
You ever heard of the gym? You look pregnant.
Wow. Crazy.
And a guy this height
Damn.
matter?
Yes.
Whoa, that was a strong yes.
Yeah, because no one wants to date a short guy.
And no one wants to date a fat girl. Let's see it. 145? No. You don't look 145.
145, that's a wrong scale.
They always blame it on the scale. Maybe it's just the diet.
What the?
You know what's crazy? You would never see females like 40, 50 years ago. This was not a thing. You see what I'm saying? This was not a thing at all. Crazy, man. Look at that.
Oh, hell no.
Damn.
Oh, open that shit up. Open that shit up. Open that what the f is wrong with your crazy? What is you doing? What is you doing? Hey, pull over. Hey, pull over. Hey, get the hey, pull the cover.
If you enjoyed this video, I promise you'll enjoy this next video. I will see you there.
Very good. Just a reminder that, you know, we have to be careful with feminism and how they are, right, taking advantage of the system. I think a lot of these laws need to be changed. That way we can create a better society. Now, with that being said, that's what's just a like a warm-up. We're going to simply jump in to see Andrew Wilson debate some of these crazy lunatics. Okay, so let's just go here. Let's jump in.
On who's more responsible for political violence, Democrats or Republicans? And today, the structure of this conversation is going to be, we'll give everyone a chance to introduce themselves, then we'll do 2-minute openers, and then we'll have a free-form discussion. Hopefully, I can stay out of the conversation as much as possible. I only have 2 rules.
Somebody asked
One,
if I
try to
debate
stick to the
straight
subject,
men.
and 2, try not
Can't
to
get mad at me
interrupt
that
each
the
other
left is
as
full of
much as
gays.
possible.
Why you get mad at me
All
for
right,
that
Mr.
for?
Soypill, would
Not
you
my
like to
fault.
shout yourself out?
Yeah, what's up? I'm the Soypill. Thanks for having me. I do video essays and I stream sometimes. Do I give my intro now or just say who I am?
We'll do openers
later. Okay, yeah, that's me.
And then John Paul.
All right, I'm John Paul. I am a student at UC Berkeley, where I'm studying philosophy, economics, and public policy. I'm also the president of the Turning Point USA chapter here, and I've made several appearances on media outlets such as Fox News or The Charlie Kirk Show, and have done a lot of work within the conservative movement.
All right, Mr. Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Wilson. I'm the host of The Crucible. I'm a political satirist. I'm a political analyst, and I do debates of all sorts all around the world.
All right, and finally, Vince.
I am the Vince Wilson Show. I am a political commentator. I stream on YouTube, Twitch, and occasionally I will be on TikTok Lives. And I try to post as many YouTube Shorts and TikTok Lives as possible. So you can find me on any of those platforms.
Okay. All righty. Soy, you have 2 minutes.
Intro? Yeah, I'll be faster than that. So, yeah, the stats show that the overwhelming majority of political violence is committed by the right wing, but I wouldn't attribute all of this to rhetoric. I think many people need extreme circumstances or mental illness in their life to want to risk everything and think that their violence will have substantial impact. It's also kind of silly that we talk about political violence in America as some sort of like major thing when you can look at, I don't know, the Troubles during Ireland or any other political violence where it becomes a part of everyday life with paramilitaries. But to be fair, we're still going to, centralize this to America. And I think that ultimately, if we want to look at whose rhetoric is more harmful, it's undeniably also the right. Democrat politicians, again and again, will try to build bridges and condemn violence, while Republicans, especially Donald Trump, will deflect, turn up the temperature, and even pardon those who commit political violence on his behalf, calling to defeat the enemy within, the Democrats, the extremist party, or in some cases, the party of pedophiles. So I think the rhetoric and blame is incredibly one-sided.
All right, John Paul.
All right. Once again, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and everyone who's watching. And tonight's debate hinges on whoever can pin the most blame on the opposing mainstream political party. And I never thought I'd have to debate violence against the party of death, riots, and abortion, but here I am defending what I believe to be the obvious answer to the question. Now, due to the left's tendency to misclassify and misrepresent political violence, I will be extra clear on the framework for the debate morally and definitionally. Violence is the behavior involving physical force to cause harm or destruction. And when that violence is political, it is set to achieve certain political ends. When we analyze which party is more culpable for the presence of political violence, we must look at the specific actions taken by the mainstream party that are plausibly linked to the occurrence of those political violent actions. The more impactful, damaging, and persistent that political violence is, the more culpable the mainstream party is as a result, assuming you could probably link the party to the violence. With that said, the core distinction here between the two parties is clear. Almost all violence from the right comes from the fringe right and is always condemned, whereas almost all violence from the left comes from the overwhelmingly present factions with strong ideological backing and influence in the mainstream Democratic Party, which typically normalizes, excuses, or rationalizes violence. The violence from the fringe right cannot be linked to the Republican Party since, again, their ideology is never taken seriously by the party, and such violence is always condemned. The violence from the left is strongly associated with the rhetoric, ideology, and the movement of the mainstream left, which is culpable for fostering a climate for such violence. In modern U.S. history, the largest sustained political violence comes from the left, in which the mainstream persistently tries to exclude reports of discussion or political violence, namely the 2020 BLM and Antifa riots, which caused $2+ billion of destructions, dozens of murders, and thousands of injured officers. Kamala Harris, as a response, promoted the Minnesota Freedom Fund that bailed out rioters, and major news outlets described the arson as looting as justice, with many left-wing academics and activists openly arguing that property destruction isn't violence. The aggressive and persistent references to Republicans as fascist, Nazis, and literally Hitler also does not help. If you think it is good to kill Hitler, which it is, then it is good to kill Republicans. Maybe that's why Charlie Kirk's assassin etched in Antifa slogans and catch fascists on the bullet that he used to shoot him with. So the distinction is clear. If a pro-life Jewish conservative walks onto Columbia University, he's at risk of being assaulted.
You almost done?
Yes, this will be the last line. If a pro-life Jewish conservative walks on Columbia University, he is at risk of being assaulted. Whereas if a general Democrat walks on Hillsdale College, he's at risk at losing a debate. So I think the framework for this is
this is very good. This is what I want to see. You see how Andrew has all these notepad stuff? This is very good.
clear.
I like that.
Fringe right, is responsible for most of the violence from the right, whereas the mainstream left is responsible for building the climate that creates these large-scale violent acts.
All right. Thank you very much. Andrew Wilson.
Shouldn't the leftists go first? So it's left, right, left, right.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I was just going in order of introduction.
I mean, not to tell you how to run your own show, but just so you know, I'm better at it than you. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. Vince.
Yeah, I got you. So, who is more responsible for political violence in America? The evidence shows the right commits more of it, but the difference isn't just in the numbers, it's in the response. When violence comes from the left, Democrats condemn it outright. When it comes from the right, Republicans deflect, blame mental illness.
So the Vince guy and the Soypill, okay.
That imbalance matters. One party takes responsibility, the other refuses. Own the consequences of its rhetoric, it becomes indirectly more responsible for the violence that follows.
Yo, I'm so chatty.
Alrighty. Thank you for the very succinct opener.
Literally, right now, YouTube hasn't even promoted my live. This is crazy. Andrew. Wow.
That's it.
I'm okay. Shadow ban.
Yeah. Very succinct. To the point.
Yeah, I guess. All right. So all of the claims from our opponents are going to hinge on studies that I guarantee you none of them have read. The Soypill likely will actually tell you the truth about that. He's pretty good about that. He'll probably actually tell you, you know what, I didn't actually read any of these. Vince Wilson will not. He'll pretend that he did, but he didn't read any of them. Let me tell you how I know that. I know that because of all the claims as I've gone through the two which they focus on, which are from the Cato Institute, and then the second one, which is from a specific project that an Antifa member is in charge of. The first claim is that the right is responsible for 6 times as many terror deaths compared to the left, and that's according to Cato. That's what they focus on. And the truth, Cato only focuses on deaths from terrorism and has glaring omissions, which put the entire study in question, which includes the fact that Michael Renault is Portland Antifa, and he's on camera saying, well, that he is. So anyway, Daryl Brooks, who's a noted black supremacist, in case you guys don't know this, killed 6, all white, injured 70, comments on whites. As we get into the study, guess what? Not included, even though there's a political motive. We can compare this. So, by the way, the Atlanta spa shooting, this is with Robert Aaron Long, listed as right-wing, killed 8. But what's really funny about this is if we compare it with Sutherland Springs, where 26 are dead, it's not included at all. So every time I make a comparison to when the motivation was pretty clearly left-wing, they just don't include them. So what I need to see is, one, I need to see in their studies that the 2020 Summer of Love, baby, actually is counted as a left-wing violence. It's not going to be, which skews the numbers. And also, I have an exhaustive, almost exhaustive list of left-wingers who have conducted political violence who are not included in any of these studies. Example, I think his name is Mauricio Garcia. He killed 8. The ADL disputed that was even politically motivated. Vance Bolter, this is another one. He explicitly told reporters that it wasn't due to pro-lifer Trump, that the congresswoman, that he shot this congresswoman because he was anti-abortion. None of these things get included or classified correctly. And so here's what's going to happen. Every study you fuckers cite, you dishonest fucking leftist scumbag cite, I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to look for these names, and if those names aren't there, they're not cited in there, I'm going to know that you're a bunch of gutless fucking liars, didn't read your own shit, because that's what always happens, right? Every single time. You're a bunch of filthy, gutless, lying sons of bitches, and you're not going to get away with it today. We're going to go through your dumbass studies, and we're just going to look at the classification. We're going to find out that when it's reclassified correctly and we take out, prison violence from prison Nazi gangs, that, it turns out not quite as lopsided as we've been led to believe. So, yeah, I'm happy to get into this debate. And, John, it's nice to meet you. And let's stomp these fucking tards.
All righty. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Just first off, I want to say, Andrew, you jumped ahead of yourself a little bit there. I am not using the Cato Institute. I'm not using the ADL. I'm using the Center for Strategic and International Studies, which is the one that kind of...
Yeah, the CSIS.
Yeah, the CSIS.
Yeah, I got him. I got him in front of me.
You got him up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That one maps up to the DOJ one as
Let's
well,
go,
which is
Andrew.
taken down, right?
Yeah. Would you like to go through the CSIS and look at all of the disputes and problems that I have with the CSIS study?
I would actually ask you to affirmatively show me any sort of study that shows that the right wing is overwhelmingly not the committers of violence. You can poke holes in anything, and I understand that, hey, this didn't include that. And you could have up to thousands of examples, but if there are thousands of examples of violence and your little discrepancies are well within the margin of error, unless you can provide me a study that shows that the right wing is not committing more violence, I'm sorry, I'm not going to play this doesn't count because I don't want it. So let's see your study.
First, we need to make sure that we classify these things correctly. Can we classify what you and I, or what we and your side would consider to be right or left wing, and what would fit in that category, so that we can determine if those people who fit in that category are conducting violence or not?
I bet if we get into the definition game, we're going to be here for 2 hours, but we can try.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty important that we understand that if there's people here who are being included who you don't even consider left wing or right wing, that they probably shouldn't be included to begin with, right?
Yeah,
and by the way,
hang
on. Let me finish. Almost done. I'll toss it back over. The biggest problem that you have with your frontal argument here is you're saying, on the positive front, if you don't show me studies, even though you're already disagreeing with the classifications in these studies, which are already out here, that somehow that means that we lose. That's absurd. I'm disagreeing with these classifications to begin with. And if you could show me the equivalent of your high-profile leadership getting shot and your president's almost getting murdered, I'd love to see it. But your studies, the studies which are used for this positive claim that right-wingers are doing it more, are very suspect.
Right. I'm not saying that if you can't give me a study that shows that left-wingers do it more, that you lose the debate. I'm saying that I have a classification that I mostly agree with that's used here. And if you have a different classification, or if you heavily disagree with this classification, I would love to see some evidence that uses your classification and also shows that left-wingers do it more.
Well, let's start with your truth
If you were
claim.
able to take the numbers out of this study and say, well, actually, I classify this differently, we can compare those two numbers, and then ultimately, draw up a new graph, sure, I could use that. That would be fine. But otherwise, I don't think there's a point in going through and saying, well, I have a minutiae of problems with this classification. Therefore, especially when in my intro, I said specifically, if we want to get into the rhetoric and what is actually causing it, I think that's much more important, but we could do either one.
Well, the first thing that we would need to do is create these classifications to make these determinations, to make sure you even agree with them yourselves. Why is that?
I think nobody's here. It's just, I don't know why YouTube take forever to just push my video live to the algorithm. There's obviously no side that has any monopoly in violence. So what is even the point of this? Do you get points for various incidents of violence of something? I guess so, based on a lot of the arguments. In certain races committing certain crimes, it's gonna come down to that. Like, if people are a certain color, they're not classified as such. People are the certain, demographic, they're not qualified as such, or they could be qualified as such.
That's so important, because if your fucking assholes are going to be running around telling people that the right is committing much more political violence than
I wish, bro. I wish.
The left, and then banking on studies as the thing which proves this for you, then you're going to need to demonstrate that first and foremost.
I think you ought to demonstrate how Darrell Brooks, who killed Sticks, was a politically motivated attack. Can you elaborate that for me, Andrew?
What's that?
Can you elaborate how Darrell Brooks, who killed Six, was a politically motivated attack? You mentioned him in your opening.
Oh no, I was making a comparison about how they don't make these classifications correctly by their own rules in that particular study. I'd have to bring both those studies up for the comparison, but that was the point I was making.
So Darrell Brooks' example was, you just don't know nothing about that case then, right?
I don't know. I'm super shadow, man. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Please.
I want you to answer mine.
I know, but I need you to repeat back what I just said so that I know that you know what I just said. What did I just say?
You were trying to mention in your opening how these are glaring contradictions.
No, I didn't say that they're contradictions. You're a fucking idiot. And what I said was that if you make a comparison,
Andrew's
this thing over here.
Andrew's not having it. A lot of these, the problem is that a lot of these lefties, they're very dishonest.
Left-wing violence.
Yeah,
this other thing that's exactly like left-wing violence is not left-wing violence. It's omitted. right? Then what I'm asking is that if we're going to make these types of comparisons, let's create a classification for what we consider left-wing to be, what left-wing violence is, and then see if I can go through an extensive list of left-wing violence and make sure that these things were actually included, because if not, we have glaring omissions. Do you agree?
Okay, and you mentioned Daryl Brooks.
Yes, as a comparison.
How is Daryl Brooks? Hold on, no, Andrew, answer my question. You mentioned it. How is that an example of left-wing extremism? Please elaborate.
I wasn't saying that it was. I was making a comparison that we can bring up all of these different names so that we can make a determination on if they are actually included as being left-wing violence, not left-wing violence, right-wing violence, not right-wing violence.
And you use Daryl Brooks. So answer the question.
What's the question?
Why did you use Daryl Brooks as a form of left-wing extremism?
I didn't.
Tell me about the case.
I didn't, you stupid fuck. I didn't.
Yes, you did. You did.
Okay, fine. Then I guess I'll clarify as much as I possibly can, since you have the IQ of the room that you're in. Very clearly, what I'm trying to do is establish a comparison contrast. Left wing versus right wing. And if we agree thing, left wing or right wing, and then we can determine if they in study or not in study. That's it.
Did you or did you not use Daryl Brooks as an example of left-wing extremism?
No, I don't think I did. I think I was making an example of comparisons.
Go ahead. We'll continue.
But in any case, I just clarified it 15 fucking times. If that's what you heard, then that's not definitely not what I meant. So who cares?
You did not do any basic research on what the Daryl Brooks case was about. So I'm glad. We'll continue. Go ahead.
What does this have to do?
Yo, what's up with this dude, man? What's up with this dude? This dude is not. You know, if you're not ready for that, you should not be here, man. If you're not ready for it, you should not be here. You're now getting into your emotions.
In fact, even better, let's say I'm completely ignorant on all of these cases. Then I guess going through each of them and determining whether or not they're left or right-wing violence would behoove both of us, wouldn't it?
I think that we should stay focused on less about these definitions, which we can get into, but it's just going to be a semantic.
What is more fucking?
I think we should stick to.
This is semantic. This is a semantical. This entire argument is semantics. Left wing versus right wing violence is completely 100% semantics. What else is it? What else is it besides semantics, bro?
Vince, the issue is that we're talking about the semantics because the studies are primarily focused on classification. They're not going to include the 2020 BLM and Antifa riots because property destruction, for some reason, lighting a building on fire is not political violence. But when a white supremacist who became a white supremacist in prison to survive commits assault on another prisoner, somehow that is political violence perpetuated by the right. And your burden is much, much more stronger than simply citing a number in a study. You can't just cite a number in a study, say, hey, look, this study based off of faulty classification shows that there's more political violence from the right. You can't just do that because you don't know the proper class.
What do you mean, like what Andrew is trying to argue? He's right.
Classifications of things. And when you do adjust for the classifications of things, you understand where the largest scale scope of political violence has occurred, which side it is from. And you see that the left has persistently, time and time again, excused, rationalized, stood in front of burning buildings, saying the mostly peaceful protest behind me. And you go there and you cheer.
2020 is the most obvious one.
With these studies and saying, like, look at this
Chuck
study.
Schumer
This is what I have.
said, that's great.
Yeah, he's saying it's semantics. He's meaningless bickering. Yes, when they say stuff like that, it's basically just trying to it's basically defense and offense, right? They're trying to just look for defense and offense movement in the conversation because conversation they do have structures, right? One is in the offense and one's in the defense. Usually, the one that is asking the questions is the one that is in the offense. The one that is just answering the questions is the one that is in the defense. When they get into semantic understanding, it's just a way of just, dominating frame. Correct.
So if you go to the BLM protests, you can see where Chuck Schumer actually came out and said that the small minority who have exploited the protests to wreak havoc and violence are wrong, and they are not taking part in the grand American tradition of First Amendment protests. That was from
why do you think Kamala Harris?
We also had Gretchen Whitmer. That's great. We still had Gretchen Whitmer.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Who have taken to the streets yes, because what it means is it's that the left, once again, as I mentioned, consistently condemns the rhetoric. I would encourage you to point out to me.
This is crazy. Kamala Harris literally was just advocating in 2020 for the release of the protesters, even just sharing their links to just donate it to just bail out. Like, I don't know what he's talking about.
You could maybe point to January 6th and say where Donald Trump condemned it, yet he then pardoned over 1,600 defendants. So again, you want to talk about how the left never condemns any of this rhetoric. There's several examples in which the left consistently condemns this rhetoric.
Wait, I'm confused. Did you just say that Donald Trump endorsed J6 by not pardoning the J6 defendants?
No, by pardoning them is what he said.
Yeah, yes. And how long did that take for the pardons to come through? For the pardons to come through for the J6ers?
Why does that matter?
Well, because the reason that would matter is because that would mean that he allowed for evidentiary findings to come through before he made the decision about pardons or not pardons, right?
Right. So when he pardons someone like Enrique Tarrio for committing, seditious.
This guy is just very ChatGPT-ish. This conversation. You see, this guy right here just using some ChatGPT or something. We're looking in Google, whatever, which is fine. The problem is that the conversation doesn't become honest because you're not listening. You're just looking to just get some brownie points.
To overthrow the government, who is convicted of that and in jail for that, and he pardons him because he aligns with this political agenda that is somehow exculpatory, matters that the evidence came out later. Like, what does that have to do with it?
First of all,
you're jumping way off the scale.
Totally off the topic. But I'm actually happy. Just very quickly, I'll engage with this. Right, the president has discretion to make those pardons based on what he considered to be a political witch hunt.
Yeah,
whether the guy was convicted, whether he was convicted or not, and just like how Joe Biden decided to pardon his kid on the way out the fucking door. Okay, thing is, it's like you can say what you want there, but the thing is that the president has the power to make these pardons based on what he thinks is best, and he thought that there was a political witch hunt and that this guy didn't deserve to be thrown in prison for this.
Yeah, that's a lot of words to say he pardoned a seditious conspiracist. But I want to get back to this BLM thing, because when we're talking about political violence...
You see, this is a technique that a lot of people use even on sale. Like, they just... they acknowledge the rebuttal, or sort of like answer the rebuttal, then they just move the topic. A lot of journalists, you will see that on reporters use that kind of technique. Exactly. Thousands of different criminal cases are not capable of being a witch hunt. Yep.
Why or why not this is classified as political violence? I think you have to look at what is the downstream following of a partisan message from Democrats, from Republicans, and what is actually happening here. You can call BLM political violence if it's, hey, these people were trying to. Well, hold on, let me see. Do you guys agree on the definition that political violence is a violent or credible threat of violence intended to influence government policy or intimidate civilians for political or ideological purposes?
I think it's close enough. I may make slight addendums, but I think it's close enough for this discussion.
I like
just in case, what would you amend?
I like to predicate it with causing harm or destruction.
Yeah, or coercion.
Sure. I would say, I'm not going to get pedantic and say that violence or threats or even, burning down buildings is somehow not political violence, just to be clear. I don't think that's why it's not counted. I think the reason BLM...
And when they were burning down police stations, did any of these studies include that?
I'm wondering. Not sure, but again, the problem
probably not.
Doing this, it might not have for that specific one, but when you look at the totality of all of these things...
and that's a problem right there. What they're doing right now in Portland, in Chicago, even Los Angeles, would you consider that to be a left-wing political violence? Clearly it is, but I don't think a lot of these studies would even include that. But at that point, we're just working with two double standards. You see?
You look at people rioting and taking advantage of a movement, which,
you're right.
again,
so it's
as
not,
much as it is a meme,
which it is a political violence when you start thinking about it. And for me, personally, I think Portland in itself, it's just a failed city. Oregon is a failed state. And I think they failed to just enforce their own law. Therefore, I think they're in a state of rebellion. So that means that the federal government needs to just step in and just take control and just enforce the state law and federal law to restore that state. Clearly, that state is in a state of rebellion, in my opinion.
Overwhelmingly peaceful as a percentage is not the same as political violence intended to spread.
Yeah, what happened? I could not disagree more. Yeah,
spread a message.
Yeah, Yeah, I think so. I could not disagree more. Yeah, the thing about the state of Oregon, Seattle, you have to understand a lot of these places they already have some laws. They're passing law, but they are not going through those laws. There's nothing wrong with those cities. He's making that stuff up. All right. Okay.
Change people's ideology.
Did you
Like, there's nothing wrong in those cities. So if I go to Portland, there's literally walkthrough. Sure they are. Why do you think so? Meaning what? I'm a little bit confused. You meaning that there's not a problem of homelessness? There's not a problem of rule of law? Yeah, it's a normal city. What about it? It's a normal city. You're telling me that Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles are a normal city? No. Those cities they're basically in a state of chaos. Sure, there is. There always was. No. The problem is to understand this. The way those cities are being ran is that they are passing laws and they're not just enforcing those laws. So you have robbery, and they're not enforcing the law to make sure these people can go to jail. So you do this for a prolonged time. You create something what they call the anarchy. How do you call it? Anarchy. I forgot the word now, man. It's like a soft way of tyranny, anarcho-tyranny kind of government. So you only enforce the law for the law by the. No, it's not anarchist. It's anarchy. Tyranny of anarchy. Anarchy of tyranny of anarchy. I forgot the word. It's basically when you are applying the law only to a law-abiding citizen. So what happened is when you're only applying anarcho-tyranny. Anarcho-tyranny. No, it's not anarcho-capitalism. That's more like a libertarianism. It's anarcho-tyranny. So basically what you're doing is you're only applying the law to law-abiding citizens, but the criminal, you're just not punishing them. So at that point, the concept of law is just almost diminished to the point that it could just go complete chaos. Why would they do that? It's politics. It's just what they want. They want more control. Right? It's easier for them to control a population that they don't follow the law. Well, you can. Where are you doing this? Well, you can see that in Twitter. There's multiple videos about this. People just walking through Portland and Seattle. There's several documentaries about this. That gives them less control. No, because see, you think about this. If you give control to the criminals, you have more an argument to put martial law, and only have those resources to protect those that are close to you. You see what I'm saying? If you create like an anarcho-tyranny, those resources that are being used for a law-abiding citizen, you take that out, and now you're bringing that to you, the government. Hang on. Okay. Let's see. They are not the one doing the martial law. No. Currently, there's no martial law, right? But the local government can create a martial law. No, there's no martial law. No, Trump is not creating martial law. What is going on right now in Seattle and Portland? No. So what is going on right now in Portland is the federal government is trying to enforce federal law. That the city, check this out, that the city in itself is not helping to enforce. No, not yet. The reason there's militarization, kind of, right, is because the government is trying to enforce federal law. You see what I'm saying? By the city not helping the federal government forcing the law, regular law crime rate. No, give me 1 second. But let me explain this to you. Every time that the local government and the state is not helping enforce federal law, the federal government is going to do everything in their power to make sure that federal law is enforced. So the more time passes where the local and the state are not helping, it's giving more ammunition for Trump to send more militarization. I think we might be operating on a separate set of facts here. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. When it comes down to Seattle, Portland, I'm telling you because I used to live in a liberal city. I used to live for New York City for 6 years. A lot of these places are basically just chaotic. They're almost they're running unconstitutionally. But first of all, they're not even. Yeah. Oh, can we check crime rates? Even if it is zero, I'll give you this argument. Even if it is zero, no, even if it is zero, the crime rate is zero. They can manipulate the crime by not reporting the crime, like they do most of the time. They're not they're not putting criminals in prison. Remember, this is the way they're just handling some of this stuff. They're not putting criminals in prison. In paper, it looks like they're not committing crime, but they're not, and they're enforcing laws. By not enforcing law, you have no crime statistics. Too many people involved, can't be done. It can be done at this point. The local counties have lost control. So even the police don't have even the resources to even put these people in prison unless you get a person that is such a pro. How can I say this? Some of these places they might just go into, I don't know, like chaotic states. Like, I don't know. Where do you get that they lost control? Simple. When you stop just enforcing law in the long run, right? When business leave the city, when people move out of those places, when you don't have people moving in, what happens is crime getting infested in those areas. If crime rates records low, that necessarily means the exact opposite. No, if crime rates are low, it's because people are not reporting the crime. That's the reason. People are not recording, they're not reporting the crime. Because people are not reporting the crime, crimes are not being reporting. It seems like the crime rate is going low. No, it's low because they're not reporting the crime. So it looks good in paper, but these places are out of control. Better control, no worse. People don't stop reporting crime. No way. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, Portland is a good city. The case in Washington, D.C., where they just threw some of the statistics. And what happened was that some of the statistics were just modified. Yeah, they were modified to make sure that they can look good in paper. But the fact is that they were just changing the definition of some of these crimes. That way, the crime stats don't look as worse. No way. Yeah. Some of these liberal places, they're not even reporting. There's a document. There's a multiple documentary. Let's just give you an example. Kensington, Pennsylvania. Have you been in Kensington, Pennsylvania? All those people in those streets are committing a crime. All those people are committing crime by using drugs in the streets, committing violent crime, deleting each other. Those crimes are not reported. Kensington, Pennsylvania is a great example of that. If you don't believe me, go to YouTube. Just go to Kensington, Pennsylvania. There's walkthrough. People just recording walkthrough about this. No, these people. No, that's a bit. No, that's not a bit of a stretch. The majority of these big cities, which are led by liberal government, they end up like that. Drug use is not a violent crime. It's not, but it's still a crime. In a lot of those areas, people die, and those are not just. Listen, okay, drug use is not a violent crime. Let me just agree with you. Okay, let me agree with you. I put it like this. Good point. Drug use is not a violent crime. You're correct. What you say, even though drug use is not a violent crime, would you consider that area dangerous? Would you consider that area dangerous? That's the question. Will you consider that area dangerous? Of course, got it. Would you consider that area not only dangerous, but you know they commit a lot of crime, not only using drugs, but just selling drugs, which is a state in a federal offense. No. See, a lot of these places, they simply don't report the crimes. This is how they do it. This is how they do it. Good conversation, man.
Really just do the fiery but mostly peaceful life?
No, if it is legalized. So see, it doesn't mean that much less dangerous then. No. Actually, the statistic on that is the opposite. Denver, Colorado is a good example. Has gotten worse since the legalization of drugs, mostly marijuana. Seattle and Portland that got worse because what happened is you cannot pretend. Here's the thing: you cannot pretend people making unsafe decisions, right? Irresponsible decision to be responsible. Using drugs, it is a responsible decision. You cannot pretend, especially very addicted drugs. You cannot pretend that people are going to be responsible afterward. It doesn't work like that. So they create, very bad areas. You cannot pretend people make a responsible decision to just create a responsible society. Drinking is irresponsible by that definition. It is. It is. You cannot. That's why you cannot drink and drive. Correct? That's why you cannot drink and drive. Is that correct? Is that correct? Because if you drink and drive, there's a possibility that you can just delete other people. So we should have the military station in all bars. So we should have this military station in all bars. No, because at that point, check this out. You're giving me my argument. At that point, local counties are already enforcing that law. Am I correct? Am I correct? Local counties are already enforcing that law. Is that correct? Let me know. This is good. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just waiting for your response.
Fiery but mostly peaceful.
Literally,
I think it's.
Yes, yeah, just like they are with everything else. I don't know where you get that law enforcement will just not do their job. No. Listen, if there's a law, so listen to this. If a lot of these people in those areas, the police, are not enforcing law because let's say the mayor said do not. Yeah, no problem. I love it, because it just it's gonna sharp our brain. My point is that even because what happened is the police follow the command of the mayor, right? In that case, right? Let's say Portland. Now, even though they're following the orders of the mayor, that is a big accusation of a lot of people. What do you mean? I was going to finish my point. Even though they are following the orders of the mayor, by law, they have a duty to follow the law they're already established by the state legislative. If they're not doing it, they decide to just follow law, not follow laws, follow the mayor or the governor. Does that mean that a lot of these laws are not being applied currently in Portland or Seattle? At what point you can just keep allowing these people to just take control of a lot of these cities and not putting enforcement of those for those laws that are already in the book? Thousands and thousands of professional law enforcement. No, I'm talking only about Portland and Seattle, where a lot of these areas are kind of almost anarchy territory. That's what I'm talking about. See, I'm sorry, I just haven't seen that. Oh, just watch a video of Portland and Seattle. Yeah, there are thousands there. Yeah, they're not. I'm sorry. No way you can go to Portland and say, man, yes, police is enforcing the law here. No, they're not doing it. Yeah, there's a state account. If you go to Portland and you see a lot of homeless people, and you do a lot of crime, a lot of people stealing, a lot of people just committing crime, and there's nothing done. I haven't seen a lot of cities personally. Have you seen Baltimore? Yeah, that's disgusting. I don't even go there. I used to live in New York City. Let me tell you where I used to live. I used to live right in the border of the east side of New York City. Like literally, where people will commit crime and never will be resolved. I used to live in Milwaukee. My car got stolen, got burned. The police will never enforce the law.
Had no violence.
I think it's really telling.
But, yeah,
I think it's really telling that the majority.
Now, sometimes, sure. No. Most of the time, They're not going to enforce the law. They don't have the resources. And already the mayor gave them the order not to do so, which is, by the way, it's a constitutional. It's a constitutional. Because that means you're not following the laws that are already started by the book from the county constitution. It's unconstitutional. Let me just give you an example. I don't know if you're American, but for example, California, Los Angeles, already is violating the Fourth Amendment, which is protection of the private property, by allowing people to steal any value items less than $1,000. That's already a violation of the Constitution. It'll be, yeah. That's why I don't know how you think they could do that. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, man. It's where we are right now.
Of this organization was mostly peaceful. When you have such large scale violence and destruction, $2+ billion of damages.
Here, I'll build a bridge to you, John. I think the MAGA movement is mostly peaceful.
Yeah, Texas cops are strict as fuck. Like it should. That's very good.
As well, despite January 6th and any violence committed by MAGA.
Right, okay, so I think there's something really crucial about the framework of this debate here, is that we're trying to analyze which party is more responsible. So when you say that, like Donald Trump pardoning people 4 years after the violence was committed.
Yeah, but the problem is a lot of these Republicans don't have representation in those areas. The body of the Portland legislative body is just completely lefty lunatic Democrats. What voice does the Republican have there? Nothing. It will be in their interest to challenge it, not necessarily. If the people don't have the knowledge to how these things go, they're not gonna challenge it. Not only that, you need resources for that. Sorry, man, that just doesn't explain it. It does. If you listen, the government currently has the duty of protect your private property. That's why we have the Fourth Amendment, right? They have that duty. Look what happened in LA with ICE. They're tripping out. Meaning what?
Then you're not really showing any culpability for Donald Trump. He didn't do anything to cause the violence. For instance,
you can get to the January 6th causes, but I'm specifically saying that he is showing that there's no consequences to committing political violence on his behalf. The reason I'm bringing up the BLM,
they were in jail for years. What are you talking about, dude?
He wasn't president when he wanted to pardon them.
I know.
I was just
wait. Donald Trump could have pardoned all of those people on his way out of office. What are you talking about?
No, I don't think he could have done that.
I think he could have. Yes, he could have.
Within his power, but I don't think it was in the political set to do it at the exact moment.
Oh, so he could have. So he could have then, is what you're saying? He could have.
I don't know if he could have mass pardoned them in.
Why not?
Before any of their sentences were finished.
Yes, he could have. You can pardon somebody before they ever even have to face a federal trial. You pre-pardon them.
I don't know if that was within his purview at the time, but maybe I'm wrong. The point is,
you're definitely wrong.
Okay, sure. The point is that we're talking about the downstream effects of the rhetoric of these politicians and how maybe a BLM riot might be like an execution of said rhetoric. So when you're looking and trying to classify BLM as political violence, you'd have to show that this violence is being perpetrated as like an extension of what these people are saying. Like, hey, I'm telling you need to go cause harm in this, or you need to go like extend and perpetuate my message, and they're doing the violence to do that, when an overwhelming majority of these riots were just people fucking rioting and looting for no reason, no political ideology, just taking advantage.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. Everyone is used to law enforcement. Come on, man. I don't know. You have to explain yourself. I don't know what you mean by that.
Advantage of chaos.
You know, that's a very useful kind of red herring or something like this, but. You know, it's not actually demonstrated to me that these people weren't there on the ground with Antifa terrorists, for instance, domestic terrorists, by the way, who were, and we have video after video after video of them often leading these mobs and inciting them towards violence. So the thing that's really funny.
Be more explicit there. What do you mean?
Yeah, guys dressed all in black show up. They start breaking windows, setting fires. Suddenly there's mobs all over the place. I know, not a good enough evidence for you, but for most people who are watching the videos, they tend to think, that looks very much like organized terrorist activity. Just saying.
Okay,
Like,
so to be
it
clear,
does.
You don't like our studies that have comprehensive, analysis and methodology, because you might disagree with the methodology, and that's fine. But your evidence that you're going to prevent to me that BLM is politically motivated in a majority is that I saw some videos and they had masks on.
Well, wait a second. Hang on. First of all, you're making a conflationary argument. I didn't make the conflation that, BLM is left wing versus your studies of the right wing. I have a much more comprehensive argument. My argument would be that the left is full of many, many more mentally ill people than the right, and I can give you studies which you would agree show this. They suffer from greater rates of depression, greater rates of overall feelings of unwellness and unhappiness. And when left-wing political primary people, this would be congressmen, senators, people in political leadership, tell these mentally ill individuals in their base that they're dealing with fascists and Nazis who are trying to take away their rights, that actually creates much more of a motivation for that mentally ill base than anything on the right, who seems to be able to discern between funny rhetoric and panic mode like you guys do anytime Trump sneezes.
Would you say that you inflict and ask violence on you and your family by naming yourself Big Papa Fascist?
You mean a debate handle?
Yeah.
A satirical debate handle?
Oh, it's a joke? Okay.
Yeah.
But these people are mentally ill. They can't tell the difference.
You couldn't, hang on. You didn't think that the debate handle Big Papa Fascist was satire? Are you fucking serious? Did you think I really thought I was the biggest papaist of all the fascists? Like,
no,
what the fuck are you
really
talking?
think you embrace fascism in a lot of ways. You want a Christian nationalist
What?
nation.
That's not fascism. You don't know what fascism even is.
It doesn't
Give me a
ultimately
break.
matter, Andrew, because like you said, you're talking to a bunch of mentally ill left-wing people. Maybe they're not able to discern whether or not it's a joke. They're not so good at humor, and maybe you're inviting violence on you. And
So right-wingers can't do satire because if they do, left-wingers may be provoked to violence. Great argument, Soypill.
No, I'm saying that if you're accusing people of accurately describing right-wingers as fascists when they do fascist things, then that is invoking
What
violence.
fascist
I would
things?
say calling yourself a fascist is probably also doing that, and I would probably try to distance myself from any and all past names that I had that might invoke violence on me.
I got it. So when the left is calling right-wingers fascists for things like wanting to close off the border and having pro-life positions, that's fascism. You think that
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay, got it. So then that would not be justified use of calling them fascists and Nazis because they have pro-life positions? Would you like example after example after example of various left-wing politicians calling right-wingers fascist, authoritarians, and other because they have pro-life positions?
You don't even need to use the politicians. I mean, we're talking about the politicians, but ultimately I probably agree with those statements. Go ahead, Vince.
I'm curious here. So, Andrew, was your argument earlier then that because the left has predominantly more mentally ill people on their side, that using inflaming rhetoric such as fascist or things of that may invoke some of those people to act upon those impulses because of the fact that they are more mentally ill?
Worse. My argument actually is that the rhetoric specifically is targeted towards that mentally ill base in order to move them towards political action.
Okay.
Not caring about violence at all.
Gotcha. So would you agree, though, because it seems like when you say there's more mentally ill, it does not negate the fact that there is still mentally ill people on the right, correct?
I don't disagree with that. Of course not.
Okay. So then if you have certain
But I would say on the right,
would it not?
Yeah.
Oh.
I would say on the right, well, there's distinctions in the types of mental illness that you're dealing with. On the right, the types of mental illness you're usually dealing with are things like PTSD. We've seen a lot of this. Not necessarily politically oriented. A lot of times that mental illness isn't triggered by politics or political rhetoric. It's triggered by various other things because PTSD, it can affect people in bizarre ways. Left-wing mental illness is generally feelings of depression, feelings of unwellness, feelings of dissatisfaction.
Here's the problem with this, Crimson King. I don't think people understand what fascism really means. I don't think people understand this. Like, literally, you were living in fascism. We will not even do this. Even because a lot of these lefty lunatics would not even just have their voice just being heard during a fascist government. I don't think so. Like, when you don't understand fascism, it's a way you have no control of your thoughts. Absolutism,
satisfaction, things like this, and a lot of those are actually associated with the political system as being things that make them feel like.
Like, what do you mean, like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert? Or what do you mean? Like, because they got canceled? Listen, freedom of speech. Here's the thing: those are just private companies just doing their own thing. Freedom of speech only protects you from the government putting you behind bars because of speech. All or nothing, right? Silenced by government? Nope. No, they're not. Meaning what?
They have anxiety, make them feel like they're existing in a depressed mode. So I think that these politicians definitely target these people.
Well, that was what happened with even when Elon Musk bought Twitter, right? A lot of people, a lot of government officials were just influencing secretly influencing by canceling individuals, right? And in this side of the aisle, I don't like to cancel. And Twitter, I don't like, because there's a public Discord, right? You can go back and forward. But what ABC, NBC, a lot of these companies do with their workers, I don't care.
Because they're very useful, jobless retards who show up to these protests in Portland and are clearly mentally ill. They're swinging their boobs around. You know, they all have blue hair. They have nose rings all over. Obviously, there's something wrong here with these people. Come on.
Can you give like an example, Andrew? Like, I don't know, like Chuck Schumer, I guess is probably called him a fascist, and like how you can demonstrate like this Chuck Schumer. The guy who the left, especially the radical leftists, probably more of the mentally ill ones, will agree on that, to see as a feckless, detriment to their left-wing movement, who, they want to overthrow and install some communists to replace him. This is the guy who is radicalizing people to hurt right-wingers. Like, could you show me like a quote?
Who? Which guy are you talking
Chuck
about
Schumer,
specifically?
Or like Hakeem Jeffries, or like any like political Democrat leader who like you.
Oh yeah,
think
well,
is
what they do,
radicalizing like these far left.
They don't
people.
just utilize all political pundits. Oh, in fact, when I was going through to get a comprehensive list of
what they did to Charlie, that making fun of Charlie like that, man. Man. That's basically, you know what's crazy? That's basically the free market doing his stuff. The free market shame this guy was Jimmy Kimmel, and the free market took care of it.
Pundits who have called right-wing politicians fascist and Nazis. I almost couldn't find one.
He sort of like doubled down afterward.
That didn't.
When he got reinstated.
It was like finding the exception. It was actually even the. You know what's really funny is like even The Economist do it. Even the left-wing economists are like, Trump's a fascist. It's crazy.
When he does fascist shit, and
I mean, come on, man. Like, he's not a fascist. Bill Clinton. We were just watching a speech the other night, right? He came out with a much more brutal immigration policy than Trump ever had. He sounded like one of these modern right-wing authoritarian fascists.
And called for mass deportations.
He did.
So do you think?
And to lock down the entire, he called to lock down the entire southern border, and he wanted more isolationism with NAFTA, actually, rather than global trade, which was interesting.
Well, still, Andrew, before you ask, I still wanted to answer my question as to
go ahead.
what politician that's like calling Trump a fascist is inciting these far left people, or far left people are seeing.
Well, it's not just them. So how this works is.
But we're talking about the politicians.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think that.
Well, actually, okay. Well, sure. In fact, I'll tell you what. Just name a Democrat. Let's play a game. Name the Democrat. I'll find the quote. Okay, Chuck Schumer calling Trump or right wingers fascist, right?
Mm-hmm. Andrew, do you think calling somebody a fascist is a call to violence, or do you think it is inflammatory rhetoric that should be condemned?
I think it depends on the context in which it's used.
Do you think it's good to kill Hitler?
But hang on.
I don't know. Hitler did it, so would you say that Hitler's good?
That's
He's trying to hear, John.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I mean, on a very.
I'm leaving it open.
I think there's certainly a lot of people who think that is very good to kill Hitler. If Hitler was still around and committing genocide, then that would be a good action to take in order to ensure the safety of the world.
Okay,
right?
so
when you have mainstream media,
hang on, I just want to answer, and because Soypill's being good faith, I'll be good faith back. You are actually correct in one sense that Schumer hasn't directly used the word fascist. He says instead that he's an authoritarian here to take all your rights. It's like,
no, to be
okay.
clear, I wasn't saying
It's like,
that he's never
okay.
said it. I assumed that he had called him a fascist, if anything. I'm asking you, can you demonstrate how Chuck Schumer calling him a fascist is the inspiration for these far left people who hate
Well,
Chuck
it wouldn't
Schumer,
if it was just if it was just Chuck Schumer rather than the political party itself saying things like, let me give you an example, the unison of Trump is a danger to our democracy, calling for his impeachment consistently and constantly. Why is he a threat to democracy?
Yeah, we can define fascism. I would say fascism is basically just the complete control, based naturally authority of the entire government with no freedom. That's what fascism. I mean, fascism. That's out of my how I'm defining it here right now. But here he said fascism is a far-right authoritarian, ultranational political ideology that suppresses opposition, promotes dictatorial leaders. It rose to prominence in the early 20th century with the regime of Benito Mussolini. But Benito Mussolini was a communist, and Adolf Hitler. That Benito Mussolini was a communist. Here he's saying that supposedly it's a right-wing movement, but when it comes down to that, I don't think that's the case, because you can say that Stalin was basically an authoritarian. Let me see. Let's see if we can bring some context. Ultranationalism. That's what he says here. Dictatorial leader. Militarism and violence. Suppression of opposition. Social hierarchies. Scapegoating and anti-democratic. Yeah, we don't have that. That is not even close to fascism. That's not even. That. Social hierarchy. Yeah, the United States is not even close to that. You can, yeah. Yeah, the Constitution
right
doesn't
now
allow
we have
it.
Gavin Newsom, for instance, who's saying that he's going to overstay the election, that his entire purpose is to have a third term. He's coming to take all of your rights. This is a unison party message.
Yeah, and I agree with all of this, by the way. But to be clear, you're saying that
The law is the law. There's nothing wrong with that. If you think that fascism, there's something wrong with it. In order for us to just have a very well-rounded society, we need to apply the law, even the most simple laws. Here, in order for us to have a country of law and order, we have to start applying the most simple laws.
Explicit call to violence, despite all the people saying that this is an electoral solution that we have.
No, let's untangle the argument, because there's multiple stages to it. So step one, that in and of itself would not be considered a call to violence as such. However, what it's trying to do is energize the base towards in-the-street protest and move them towards the idea that Trump is here to take all of your rights, take everything away from you. He's an authoritarian. He's a fascist. He's a Nazi.
Stupid.
He's all of these various things. That then goes down to the governor level, goes down even to the state level, and it goes to the pundits on MSNBC, CNN. They begin to regurgitate the same exact things. And yes, the idea is to motivate these people who have a very mentally ill base to go out and conduct political violence. It does seem to translate that way. Every time I see them out in the street, they seem to be doing violent shit. I don't know what to tell you. 2020, the summer of love, they were out there doing violent shit. The protest we just covered that happened in California, out there doing a bunch of violent shit. The Portland protest that we just covered, also doing violent shit, fighting in the streets. They were trying to provoke the cops. It's like, what do you want me to do? Every time I look at the street and there's a bunch of leftist protesters, that seems to be accompanied by a bunch of fucking violence, and the media saying, it's fine, it's good, it's all.
No, that's what detention camps. It's not concentration camp. No, to be honest, they're getting treated very well. Air conditioner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, beds. Nah, they're getting treated very well. Nah.
My question is, let's just assume for a second that
they could have big words. They could have just let them. They are illegal immigrants. You see what I'm saying? If the United States decided to just put them outside and fences, no air, no building, out, exposed to nature, they could have done that. They're illegal immigrants.
Was a fascist, and a bunch of people who were fighting against this fascist had a mentally ill
They're human beings. I understand they're human beings, but we have a country of law and order. This is a country of law.
Base, would it then be irresponsible of them to accurately describe their opponent as fascist, because ultimately some of the most mentally ill and fringe people on that base would then go and commit violence that you think is bad? Or how would one deal with that if they truly didn't believe that their opponent was that?
So contextually, right, if it's the case, there's an actual Nazi who's in office, okay, who is trying to bring back the Third Reich, and it just so happens that you're motivating your base against an actual Nazi, and some of them are mentally ill. Yes, of course, there wouldn't be any problem with that. The whole point then would be to overthrow, though, wouldn't it? Wouldn't the whole point of that be? Hang on. Wouldn't the whole point of that be that you're motivating this base against this Nazi to do what? Good things to him? Do you want him to do good things to him? Like, what do you want him to do to him?
If you truly thought that there was no possible way for you to do this through the system, then yeah, why would you be out there getting people to canvass? Why would you be out there telling people, go register to vote? Why would you do anything other than, hey, we need to mobilize our little infiltration?
Hang on, here's the thing. It's really funny. It's like, yes, there's one branch that does that, and then there's other branches which seem to motivate people to shoot political commentators, take shots at the President of the United States, beat people in the streets, set cars on fire, set buildings on fire, and are very unapologetic about it, and are continuing to organize yet another No King's Day nationally to do even more of this shit. So the thing is like, again, I'm going to throw this back to you because I answered in good faith. Yes, of course you would motivate your population, but motivate them to do what? You're not going to be motivating them to do good things to the Nazi in charge, are you?
Well,
let him answer. Let him answer, dude.
This is something that I agree with most of the politicians in the way that they're classifying Trump as a fascist. I think Nazi is obviously too far. He's not that. But calling
they're not going to do good things to the fascists, right?
And I'm saying, look, guys, if I thought this was a non-electoral solution, there was no electoral solution here, that you had absolutely no other option, kind of like what Trump did in January 6th and saying, hey, your country failed you, Mike Pence failed you, I would say, yeah, maybe we should go do a violence. But obviously, I don't think we're there yet. I wouldn't be having this debate if I thought the only option was violence. So when we look at like the BLM stuff, and we look at the way the Democratic politicians, whether it's Newsom, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and say things.
You say that we're supposed to make our government as fair as possible. I don't think that's I don't think so. I don't think that's the purpose of government, right? I don't think that's the government is basically like a referee, but I don't think it's there to make things fair. Yeah, that's not the government.
There's no place for violence. There's no place for looting.
What happened is, if you get into this argument of fair or not, you start doing what a lot of these Democrat politicians are doing, which basically is just to make sure we can just create a better playing field. Let's just give affirmative action to those minorities, and these people that always have done much better, let's just make sure we make that harder for them to get jobs or enter these universities or get the opportunities. Doesn't work like that.
Or destroying property, or burning churches, or destroying businesses.
That's kind of their whole thing. I don't think so. I don't think that's the government just making sure that it's not fair. It's make sure that laws that we agree as society are just defended without us trying to, let's put it this way, not cut our not to delete ourselves. No, that's not what. It's not fair, right? It's just make sure that we can live peacefully with each other, but it's not fair.
Et cetera, constantly condemning this. I don't understand how you can say, well, by accurately describing this person the way that they believe him to be, and then saying also don't commit violence, we can win this electorally. This is somehow necessarily going to result in violence only because there are, I guess, a disproportionate amount of mentally ill people on the left wing. It doesn't particularly make sense.
I'm sorry, aren't you a person who believes in the idea of dog whistles?
Yeah, but it's not a dog whistle.
Okay, so hang on. So you obviously politicians aren't going to come out directly and go, "Hey guys, you need to start killing right-wing politicians, and you need to start killing like, right-wing political commentators." Yeah, they would say things instead like, "This person is trying to, I don't know,
like hell." I mean,
they're trying. Hang on. I'll engage with you. Let me finish the point.
I've hung on for the past.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Almost done, bro. Almost done. So, like, saying things like, Donald Trump is trying to mobilize the military so that he can declare martial law and exist for a third term. Yeah, that's not really in the domain, I think, anymore of like, we're just trying to motivate our political base to get out there and get charged to vote him out. How do you vote a person out who you're claiming is trying to stay for an additional term by using the military? How do you do that? You don't do it. So the whole point is, yes, I think that there's a bit of dog whistling going on there of, hey, he's an authoritarian fascist who's trying to overstay his welcome in the Oval Office, and he's prepared to use the military to put you down. So we need.
So if millions and millions and millions of people are unable to follow the law, you think it's a problem with the people and not the law? I don't know what you mean by that. Yes, explain.
Need to really get these guys because they're a bunch of fascist Nazis. That's very much what the call is right now.
Yeah,
yes.
I think if they said that was the only thing that's going to happen, I think saying he may try is much different. But I would agree that if they said Donald Trump will definitely 100% do this and he's not going to leave office, he's going to use the military to crack down, I would say
that's what Newsom's saying.
No, he's not saying that's exactly definitely. He's saying there's a good chance.
Oh, come on, man.
The difference being that there's
I'm 87.5% sure that he's a Nazi who's trying to take power.
Can I please respond? So the difference being that there's all these other avenues that we've explored that Trump is also trying to explore that may not involve the military, such as changing the 22nd Amendment or running as vice president and then having J.D. Vance step down. He's talking about all sorts of other avenues, and it's like, okay, there's definitely this guy has demonstrated in the past that he does not want to leave office. He tried to, use false electors to stay for a third term, but we still defeated him electorally in that because the guardrails held, thank God. So saying that, if this was the only option, maybe that could be potentially a dog whistle, but clearly all of these Democratic politicians are not operating under the assumption that violence is the only option.
So I mean, what level of surety you would actually need Gavin Newsom?
No, what you're doing is blaming the most exploited people for their own exploitation, but completely ignoring the people doing the exploding. I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what are we? I want you to explain to me, what are we supposed to do? Yeah, what are we supposed to do here, man? Now, because if that's the case, so we just basically just bring the third world, just take over and just do whatever the hell we want with the first world. Give them the paperwork. No, man. Okay, I agree with you. Give them the paperwork in your country. Fill out all that paperwork in your country. And we have to make sure that you are an asset to the country. We always have. It's how we got into a superpower. No. We got into the superpower because we got the best of the best. No. And remember, you cannot compare the country that we had to what we have right now. We used to have we used to be 90%, 98% European, which is a very common culture. Even if you live in Italy, Spain, Portugal, Sweden, England, Eastern Europe, Sweden, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, it doesn't matter. We all have a common culture. Now we bring in people that don't have our culture, and they're taking advantage of the empathy of the European mindset. That's not okay.
To be like, hey, everybody, I'm 100% sure this Nazi's trying to overstay his stay in the Oval Office and use the military right now to suppress people. So what? What does he have to say to convince you that he means what he's saying?
I think if you
can you provide an actual quote that you are using?
Against
I can provide an entire video clip of this.
Democrat politicians refuse to condemn it and say, you know what, maybe this should happen more. I think that would be more of an indication of, they want more of this to happen. But at every single step, at every opportunity, they condemn this violence over and over.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile,
over
all the influencers are dancing after Charlie Kirk dies. We go to TikTok for the follow. We go to TikTok.
The influencers and not talk about actual politics.
Hang on a second. Didn't I just tell you that this is a tiered system? I walked you through the entire argument, and you said, I largely agree with your assessment there. Those were your exact words.
I do largely agree, but again, when I bring
so I don't know what to tell you.
Left-wing politicians are overwhelmingly condemning this, and you say, well, these influencers with a much lower reach aren't, and it's like, okay, well, are you going to address the fact that...
Yeah, there's a line. There's even a line where you live. You're saying there's no line. Yeah, even where you live right now, there's a line. There's an understandable line that we all agree in society that is yours, even where you live right now. Because you say no line, that means that anybody in your own space can come. You take your space.
We're already talking about the inequality between the left and right.
Oh my God! Politicians are speaking out of both sides of their
mouth.
That's so crazy that a politician on the one hand says I condemn the violence, but on the other hand they go, oh, but wait a second, we're going to give you a place inside of this major metropolitan area to fucking riot. Oh, but we condemn the violence. It's like, what are you fucking talking about here, Soy?
Yeah, so you're setting up the idea that left-wing politicians giving permits and spaces for people to protest, which may turn violent at some point, is the same as them.
They let them take
advocating and perpetuating people shooting politicians and pundits and shit.
They let him take over an entire spot. He was finished. He was finished. You fucking idiot! Shut up. Now, by the way, Soy, yeah, did you see that? You see how I was right, doing everything right, and you're a dumb mod. So anyway, back to this, Soy, for you, just so that you understand. Right? They took over an entire area of a city and called it Chaz Chop, said it was a neutral zone, declared it independent of the United States of America, and then had armed hang on. Let me finish. Let me finish. Yes, not only was it downstream of that, but it was very clear that the politicians who were in charge of said city weren't going to do a fucking thing about it, while at the same time they were condemning violence. It's like, give me a fucking break with this shit.
Can you like?
Oh wait, so it's interesting.
If I were to go and ask some of these like Chaz people, like who?
Yeah, Andrew's getting much better. And the thing is that what Andrew has in his favor, besides he's a very good debater, he understands logic. Most importantly, he understands how we got to this place as a country, as a civilization. He understands that, and also he has Christianity as a backup and the truth. The thing is, it's very hard to just go to the truth when you have a lot of half truths, right? It's very hard to just go through a lot of the conversations unless you understand the line of logic.
Do their chazzing? Do you think it would be like a Hakeem Jeffries, a Chuck Schumer, a Joe Biden, the radical?
Again, I'm right now. I'm from the moratorium. I'm right now. I'm for re-migration. That's my position right now. Re-migration, yes. People that came here with a green card, people that came here with visas and stuff like that. If you came here and H1B visas and stuff like that, out. We have to just keep them all out. Out. And I will even go further. If your parents were born here legally, I will say we could just grant legal status to that kid that was born instead of a U.S. citizen. That's me.
Democrat left that inspired them to make a little stupid fucking square of
culture is important. Culture is very important. Culture is basically what people use to express their way of life. Now, culture is very important. Okay. Not disappear, it's deported. Yeah, you have to deport him. Culture is just basically the expression of a society. Let's put it this way. Would you say German culture is much better than Indian culture? Crimson King? Would you say German culture is much better than Indian culture?
A city and have a lawless zone, which was then cracked down on. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Cracked down on after how many weeks?
The left-wing politicians. Now, you might say that there are some left-wing governors or like super ultra progressive, attorney generals in like maybe like Portland or places like this that might actually agree with some of these crazy Antifa.
They don't just agree with them. They seem to be very assisting towards them.
Yeah, sure. Maybe even so. But the point is,
like in Portland, for instance,
as a totality of these parties, this is not something that like Antifa is not aligned with the Democrats.
Yeah. The thing is,
there's a very strong ideological backing for Antifa and BLM.
Oh, no. Just see this. No. Okay. I'll grant you that. There's no vague better or worse about it. Okay. I'll grant you that. Where would you prefer to live? In Germany or India?
Democrats and the Democrats champion the Black Lives Matter.
This is why you notice how you just jumped to the BLM thing, which is not what I'm talking about. I was talking about Antifa.
He said,
Of course,
well,
of course.
he literally
The
just said
Democrats-
BLM was highly ideologically driven by the left. What do you
I
mean
agree
he's not talking
completely,
about
and I
BLM?
wasn't talking about that. But if you look at BLM and the way that the left-wing Democrat politicians were responding to it, completely condemning all of this violence, saying rioting is completely unacceptable. And
Is that why Kamala Harris promoted the Minnesota Freedom Fund to bail out the violent rioters? Like, I mean, come on.
I think that's the closest
Are you
thing you can
serious?
get to maybe she's advocating for violence, or maybe like a Maxine
Maybe.
Waters saying you need to go get up in their faces. But then when you compare it to the totality of statements where she's saying violence is not okay, but maybe we should help.
How many
out
of
with
these
their
left-wing
health violence, it's very
organizations?
different.
How many of these left-wing organizations who are filled to the brim with attorneys back up all sorts of projects which are designed to bail out protesters, quote protesters, when they get cracked down on because they're breaking the law in the streets? And they pay their bail funds. NGOs will back up many of these organizations. I pointed this out in my last debate with Vince. Have a massive list of NGOs, which we can go through, who organized the No King's Day riots. And they were riots. And there were riots before those days. So the thing is like, I can show you the NGOs who helped organize this. And it's like to pretend that these people aren't working in unison.
I love Indian culture, by the way. Not that big on German. I love Indian culture. Okay, man, now you follow
each other and aren't pushing towards
sorry,
violence.
Bro. Sorry. No, now I cannot take you serious, man. You love Indian culture? I even speak a little German. I learned. All right. I'll beat us in. I in Pablo. Me too, a little bit, man. I speak a little bit of German too.
It's just crazy at this point. By the way,
Hey, Andrew,
another
let me ask
hang
you
on,
something,
almost
Andrew.
done. Another narrative.
I've been hanging on for 30
another
minutes,
narrative.
so
Well, hang on for
that's great.
hang on for
Let me
one
ask
more
you,
minute.
how-
Hang on for one more minute. So the thing is like it was also you guys, remember, and your side largely, that was trying to distance yourself from violence by pinning it on a right-wing raper after Charlie Kirk was shot. Almost the entire narrative of the influencer left and the legacy media, which is left-wing, was trying to do this. And they've done everything possible, in fact, to say, nope, we didn't do it. It had nothing to do with our rhetoric. And then less than a week later, right? Oh, go to Twitter right now. Charlie Kirk's a fascist Nazi. He's a fascist Nazi.
To be clear, because I never said that. If anything, I thought the Groiper thing was jumping the gun, to be clear. But Vince, go ahead.
Yeah, Andrew, how many people were arrested during the Los Angeles protests?
Which one?
The one from the summer in June of 2025.
I'm not sure the numbers.
Anti-ICE riots.
Yeah, I'm not sure the numbers.
It was over 400 arrests. So again,
it's not even fascist, bro. The Indian government is corrupt to the core, bro. They will never move out. They will never. It will take like 100 years. You mean LA riots? Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Gavin Newsom's sentiment of, hey, we need you to peacefully protest. It doesn't seem like he's enabling it.
Even though they have universal health care, they still have to pay for it monthly, and you, by law, need to pay to the system.
It seems like he's
so
actually.
it's not free healthcare. A lot of people don't understand this.
Several people were arrested for felony charges like assault against police officers and for possessions of Molotov cocktails and a gun. So again, if this was Gavin Newsom dog whistling, I would imagine we would expect far less arrests. And I remember actually in our previous debate, where you said the cops were just standing around,
and then showed video proof
of where they were not.
Yeah, they were.
They were not just standing around.
They
And
were.
evidently, they weren't because
not only were they, but we showed the video and demonstrated, and you look like an idiot because we showed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we showed it.
You acknowledge that there were 400 arrests that were made by Los Angeles PD due to these protests, right?
Sure.
Okay, so then it wasn't that Gavin Newsom was standing down or allowing this to happen. It seems like they were very adamant in trying to make sure that those who were not peacefully protesting were being.
No. People don't understand this. We understand this. You still pay. You still pay in the German system of healthcare. You still pay monthly, a lot of money. By the way, a lot of money yearly, more than regular Americans. You pay a lot of money. The thing is that supposedly there's no bill, but behind the no bill receipt, there's some expenses, right? And the process to just even get to a doctor, even during the emergency, is pretty tedious.
held accountable.
Very
People like Donald Trump, who ended up pardoning those who actually committed crimes.
Here's how this tended to work during those protests. If you actually assaulted officers or gave them a hard time, they would arrest your ass. That's true.
Nah, it's not me because I have a channel. I react to a lot of German content, and it's not free. You have to pay a lot of money. Almost 50% of your income goes to a lot of those systems, which is not bad. But even getting a doctor, getting an appointment on a doctor, getting into even calling the emergency, even calling the ambulance, is a problem.
Okay, but they largely were standing around and watching everybody burn shit to the fucking ground, including what happened in the overpasses there. As you saw police on either side with paramedics on standby in case one of these protesters might have accidentally hurt themselves, lobbing a fucking rock over onto a police car that they had just set on fire. They wanted to make sure that those guys would get the
50 is 50. Yes, 50% of tax, even 50 to 60. Yeah.
help that they fucking needed. But the thing is, what's really funny about it, if you attack the cops directly, yeah, they don't put up with that shit. That's true. That's true.
I think we need to be very, there's a lot of like discussion that's like very beyond the scope that I'm seeing from our opponents here, because we need to be very clear. The left makes a climate that allows this type of violence to be highly associated with them ideologically. Like, for instance, we have a whole bunch of factions of the left that have risen up. I can name countless examples. You just gave an example of the anti-ICE rights. That's very ideologically fundamental to the left right now. We have the BLM movements that was very ideologically backed by the left as well. We have the pro-Palestine faction of the left, which the left constantly has to cater to and has caused countless of damages on college campuses. Yeah, pro-life journalists going and interviewing people and getting punched in the face. And you have our presidents being shot at, and you have our influencers dead. So it's like you need to have a very strong conviction to show that the party is very responsible by their ideological backing and their influence. And when you see bullets etched with Antifa slogans that are largely perpetuated by Democrats who are calling Charlie Kirk fascist, I think it is very clear what is going on here. There's a great unison with these politically violent actions and the party. Ideologically backed political ideologies from the party.
Let's give the kid a chance.
Highly associated with these acts.
John, I guess I have to ask, if you were to like, sorry, Vince, I'll let you go because I know I've been talking a lot, but like if you were to like ask like, an Antifa like rioter, one of these violent people, like, why do you think Charlie Kirk is a fascist? Do you think a single one of them would say it's because Joe Biden said so? It's because Gavin Newsom said so? It's because, and not, these people are radicalized in their like little Marxist communist circles, and they read, I mean, you go to UC Berkeley, you should know this of all people, because I know the people at UC Berkeley. They are learning this in like, you know, their little like hippie circles. This is not coming down from like Democrat politicians. Absolutely no one is being inspired by the Kamala Harris rhetoric on ICE.
Who does it come down to is in charge of these hippie circles? How do they? How do the people in charge of those hippie circles? How does that information get disseminated to them? Do you?
Well, this is going to get super anecdotal for me, but when I encounter these people, it's all people that talk about theory and reading communist manifestos and stuff. But if you want to say that this is somehow perpetuated by left-wing politicians, I don't really see evidence.
Oh man, this guy is disingenuous. Of course, coming. There's literally 1 second, guys.
Wait a second. I'm just following your line. These people they do have organizers. You agree that that's true?
Well, not really Antifa, but
yeah, they really do. In fact, I can give you one of the organizers who ran a project, which is probably where you get a lot of your stats from. And he said on camera, and I have a clip here, he literally says that he's Antifa and that Antifa does organize. So I don't know where you guys are coming up with that.
I really hate the like Joe Biden, like it's just an idea, because I think that is a deflection. I mean, obviously they're groups of people and they have like a symbol that like unites them, but ultimately it's not some like big top-down organization with like it's the head of Antifa. It's you get these little pockets of people that all kind of agree, read similar stuff, and decide to go to the bench.
These think the same.
Exactly.
The same
the
thing.
Universities here. The universities are a hub for this type of ideological backing from people where, yeah, sure, the Marxists come together at universities, which is completely dominated by the left. So that is like another form of mainstream left-wing politics that is going into the educational system and is influencing people to become radicalized. And so it's like, yeah, if I asked an Antifa, like, why did you shoot Charlie Kirk? The answer is
I
probably
love
not gonna
talking
be
shit to this
because
mod
Joe
too.
Biden told me
It's
so.
one of my favorites.
But when you take a look at
You're
the
like, shut up,
climate that has been
mod. You suck,
created by the
mod.
left,
Shut your
it has made
fucking
it
mouth,
such
mod.
that you are predisposed
I just
to
like doing
believe
that.
Charlie Kirk is a fascist, to believe that all these people on the right really want to cause you harm, are threats to democracy, are Nazis, are Hitler, to the point where you are going to take actions because you are convinced by the social constructivist narratives that the left constantly perpetuates, and you think that when you commit an action in the name of social justice, that it is a good action, no matter what law you're violating, no matter what you're doing, so you can choose what laws to obey because it is in the name of some arbitrary social justice. All of this is under the umbrella of the left wing, who has created these ideologicals, these influences that have very predisposed people to commit these acts.
I guess the problem I'm having is this like completely asymmetrical analysis where we can look at the left and say, yes, they condemn it totally. Yes, they arrest and punish these people. And yes, they say absolutely nothing that would indicate that doing this is okay. But when the right wing calls people fascists or Marxists or any of these other things and commits political terrorism, that is a direct downstream of
it's because of PTSD.
Of
It's PTSD.
It's fringe. It's right wing.
Gee, what are they arresting all these people for? Are they arresting them for political violence, Soy?
What
are they arresting them all for?
We're getting way out of the
Right,
framework
because
of
they
the debate
don't
here.
want it to
Remember,
happen.
Because well, they're all right. So you're
do
saying that a bunch of left wingers are conducting a bunch of violence and have to be arrested? Is that what you're saying, Soy?
I'm saying that yes, that left wingers do political violence.
Yes, they sure do, and would you say that that's been kind of an ongoing theme here recently? And I mean, he just said 400 of them had to be arrested for conducting violence in California recently.
Wrong.
No,
not necessarily correct.
And what I remember,
I thought you just said that they're cracking down on this behavior.
Yeah, he just said it. He just said it. Oh my god!
Explain that.
Okay, I can't wait. I think we lost Vince.
400 arrests.
Up a little bit.
Oh,
I think we lost Vince.
Oh, yep.
Hold on, can you hear me?
All right. Yep.
Okay.
You're good.
So it said the vast majority of arrests have been for failing to leave the area in defiance of requests from law enforcement. So essentially staying out, and they're telling them to move and they didn't move and they got arrested. The other ones were more serious charges, and it was a handful, not a whole lot of them, but it was a handful of more serious charges, including for assault against police officers and then possession of a Molotov and cocktail. So again, when we talk about, but the thing that's really rich, like Soypill said,
not leaving an area, so no, not violence.
He just cited violence.
Guys, let Vince finish.
The wild thing about this to me is it's exactly like Soypill said. Y'all are providing numerous examples of the left, and that's fair, fine. Let me just provide a few here, because we had the 2024 election that happened last year, and there were numerous calls made into certain election and polling places. We also saw 2025 where the CDC shooter was all upset about the COVID-19 shot that he had gotten, and he didn't like. He thought he was melting his brain or whatever it was. We also had the 2022 Buffalo. See, and that's right there exactly what I said in my opening statement. I'm glad you mentioned that, Andrew, because I believe in my opening statement I said when it's the left will openly condemn that violence. They say, hey, there's no place in there. When there was a protest, they'll say, hey, there's no place for this violence. But when the right does it, they then say, hey, guess what? It's because of mental illness, which is what I said. Or they'll say it's because of PTSD, but they'll never own their rhetoric.
That's
that
really
may have led up to that.
Wait. That's really
and anti.
You just cut out again.
Oh,
sorry, man.
We lost Vince again. All right. Well,
that's God smiting you for lying, by the way. But anyway, so where were we? Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that we can point to certain rhetoric that may have led these mentally deranged people on the right go towards these particular acts. We talked about, for example, that one person who talked about the COVID-19 shot. We've seen with the Buffalo shooter, for example, had anti-immigration sentiment, and we could talk about all that. And whereas on the left, we'll sit here when we have someone that does these things, condemn those particular violent actors. But on the right, they immediately, for example, we just saw the Mormon incident where the guy drove the truck through the church. And what was the first thing that everybody said? Instead of saying, hey, maybe our rhetoric is pretty bad, they go, hey, he's suffering from PTSD. It's not our rhetoric. Our rhetoric has nothing to do with it.
Was Christianity is under attack, and this is the left wing doing this. Then they said, once they realized it was a MAGA guy, that it was not.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that. People said that Christianity was being targeted. That's true, but nobody said it was a left wing no job. Nobody said that.
Well, exactly. The thing is that my understanding is that the entire Mormon thing happened because of a girl that he was interested in, and they broke up. And yes, the guy was crazy. And so this is the thing that's really funny. So I'll just be very unequivocal with this, just like I was with Destiny. I condemn all acts of political violence, right or left, period. Am I saying that there's never any such thing as incendiary rhetoric which comes out of the right? Of course not. Am I saying that there's no such thing as people who say things which could trigger people to go do violent acts? Of course not. Am I even saying that there's a way to 100% avoid that and have speech? Of course not. Has nothing at all to do with this conversation about which side is doing this more. And so as we dive into this, we need to be very precise. Remember how I wanted to get these semantics in order, and you never want to fucking do that because you think it's a trap. You think it's a trick. Even though even though I keep trying to just tell you it's a great way to avoid equivocation. And Vince, if you do it more, we wouldn't have to run into this so much. So the thing is here that's interesting, I'm willing to go case by case. It could be the case.
Except for Darrell Brooks.
It could be the case. Yeah, no, I told you I was willing to go into that case as well. I was just explaining to you that I was making comparison contrast there about why it would be important for us to utilize studies the correct way by making correct classifications we could agree to. Again, semantics, very simple. The thing that's really interesting here is, like, if you give me a case and it's very clear that this was motivated by the right, and there's compelling, significant evidence that it was, my side always universally condemns that, by the way. And Charlie Kirk universally condemned that, by the way. We always condemn it. We're always saying, I was the one on the Pierce Morgan panel saying, of course, I condemn this type of violence. It was the representation for your side, the Coomer gremlin, who just couldn't quite bring himself to say, probably wasn't a great idea that you took a shot at Trump and killed Charlie Kirk. It was him. So the thing is like, we can't, hang on.
But we're talking about our politicians.
We can't. You keep switching, though. You keep switching between the two. You're doing kind of like the worst form of equivocation, because we start with me saying this works from the top down and you agree. So you've already agreed with me semantically that this is the case.
Pundits are way lower on that hierarchy.
What would that have to do with the left or the right conducting more violence? Why would it need to be necessary that this is driven 100% by the top of the hierarchy, rather than it could be conducted by Antifa terror cells? It could be conducted by radicalization on side of college campuses. It could be conducted in all sorts of Discord groups, Telegram groups. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the top down. I don't think that the top-down rhetoric helps.
For it, then we need to look at one.
We're not just talking about that, though. We're talking about who conducts more of it.
Right. So if we want to talk about who conducts more of it, and we really want to read through the CSIS study, I mean, we can talk about it. There's a reason why. Like, we can, but like, it's going to be real boring. And the problem is, at the end of it, you're either going to say, well, I don't agree with the methodology, and then not provide an alternative methodology that somehow parses.
Come on, let's go through it. Let's see what happens.
That you're satisfied with, and it's ultimately not going to get us anywhere, because you're
That's
never
not.
Say,
wait.
Right,
that is not how science works, Soy. Science does not work where you say, I have an experiment or some type of data collection here which is easily falsifiable and you have to replace it. That's not how that works. I don't need to give you alternatives to things that are bullshit. I don't need to.
I can name a bunch of things and look at these videos, and when I say a study, you can poke holes in it.
You remember how earlier you said that the study is not necessary for the demonstration?
Methodology, or go through and parse through the cases used in this study and say, this is how they all are classified under my methodology, and how then the numbers would add up, and then show me that new graph. But if you can do neither of those things, I'm going to choose to actually use the study.
Okay, well, let's use your own study. Okay, to make the demonstration. Since Trump was reelected, this is according to Cato, the left has killed. It is. Shut up and let me finish. It is. Dude. If you shut up, I'll show you.
Andrew.
The left has killed 2 times as many people, according to the CSIS. The one that you're referencing, the left-wing terrorism is at its worst in 30 years. According to the CSIS.
Are you talking about the little bar at the end where the left-wing terrorism has gone up by a little compared to the previous year, and then the right-wing bar is
cherry-picking.
Large?
He's cherry-picking
you're looking at the very last year that's not complete. Is that how we're going to do
I just told you that according to Cato, the left's killed 2 times as many since Trump's election.
In the year since Trump's election, so you're only going to selectively look at 8 months, just to be clear. So, to be clear, if your argument
when the violence has... You mean when the violence has exploded?
7 months exclusively, and we only look at that? Sure. Okay.
Okay. Hang on. Wait a second. Wait a second. when was it that the left became completely mobilized towards violence? Was it under fucking Biden or was it under somebody else, Soy? Who else? Who? Oh, yeah, like, you mean under Trump, when they did mass protests before against Trump, and now we see the cycle repeating again under Trump. The most critical term of showing
this. Able to look at you're like, okay, I'll use the stats, but only if I can pick out this very last bar of this last year, which I'll agree with. I'm saying, yeah, actually, this is true. I'm not contesting this study. I'm agreeing. The left is more violent in 2025, according to the study, in the very last year. Now, if we're talking about that, I don't know which debate you signed up for, but I signed up for as a totality.
Okay, hang on.
This is graph.
This is perfect. Actually, this is perfect. This is perfect.
It's pretty funny to look at this and say, "Oh, yep, this is definitely a left-wing."
This is perfect. And this hang on. Let us finish our exchange. Are you
saying? Yo, shut up, bro. This is the funny thing. This Vince guy is trying to just shut up. There, let them have the back and forth.
Girl, never let us finish an exchange. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vince. I'm sure whatever you're about to say is important. Go ahead.
Here we go. So now that you're hearing me. So the issue here is that you're pointing to this, but I remember when Trump was in office the first time, and we do have.
I don't know. I can't even understand the guy. So anyway, back to you, Soypill.
I'm sorry. My internet's garbage.
It is garbage. You know what? I'm gonna hang on, Vince. I can actually help you with this. If you have mobile hotspot, turn your mobile hotspot on and shut off your internet. Turn your mobile hotspot on. So anyway, back to this, Soypill. Actually, now we're getting somewhere. So this is actually great. So you made the concession. You agree. Left-wing violence under Trump.
It's an agreement of objective reality.
Again.
So by the way, for the past hour,
am I allowed to fucking talk?
But now that you're looking at the last year, you're like, yep, it's true. So no, it's not.
Okay. So anyway, I'll try to finish the point. Because you're about to get fucked here. So the thing is on the CSIS, if you make the concession that it is the case that under Trump, left-wing violence is much higher, killed 2 times.
Not only that, it's just, this is how Zoom is, man. It's sometimes when you're talking, you cannot hear whether or not they're talking. You know what I'm saying?
As many people, you agree with all of this, you're making the concession there. The thing that's really funny is this is why I want to go through the methodology. Because if you make the concession that the left is far more violent right now, and I agree with you, all that's left is whether or not the left has been violent this entire time, which is why we need to go through the methodology of the rest of the study. You see how that works? Because if I can demonstrate in the rest of the study, you're classifying things wrong, but we can agree the left is more violent now, we've won the fucking debate, Soy.
To be clear, no, because the debate is not. Is the left wing more violent in the current year? Is the who is more responsible?
Can you even repeat back what I just said to you?
Second of all,
can you even repeat back what I just said?
If you want to start on the axiom that we can concede that both of us agreed with this study for this one particular year, but then we have to go back and meticulously pick it apart for all the other years. No, absolutely not.
Why not?
You're either accepting of the study or you're
not. Wait, what? I'm either accepting of the study or not.
If you agree with this study's methodology, then okay, I accept that you agree with this methodology, and then we can look and see that the right wing is overwhelmingly responsible for political violence as a whole for most of human history, or not human history.
What?
But no, yeah. Excuse me. That was
so let me get it.
The history of the study.
I understand. I'm not going to be a pedant, but let me just help me out here. If I had a study that said,
and then go through the
so if I had if I had a study and the study said that 100% of people who eat dog shit don't like how it tastes, right? Mm-hmm. But 20% of white people or black people like how it tastes more than Mexican people. Ugh. Can we agree that both of us could look at the methodology of that study and agree 100% of people don't like eating dog shit? We've now agreed. But we could have great differences on the methodology for how we came to that 20% number. Do you agree that that's true?
I agree that that's true.
Okay, yes. So then hang on, bro. I'm trying to explain. So when we go through the methodology of the classification, my concern there would be actually that it's discounted and it's even higher than they're claiming. But I'm willing to concede the point even on the CSIS on the end. If you are, we can go through the classifications for all of these other years. And boy, if it turns out that they're not classifying these things correctly, then we can do some type of rough calculation to see which one of us is, or which side is actually conducting the most amount of political violence. And if it's the case in modernity, go ahead.
Last year, because it is a methodology you agree with, because any of the things that are demonstrated are true, it just happens to show that you're right. So if it showed the opposite, you would immediately discredit it. So why even call it a
What are you talking about? That has has nothing to do with what I just said. Can you repeat back to me? Can you repeat back to me my position?
You said I can concede on this point, but I actually think it's wrong. It just happened to be right in the correct way that I already agreed with.
So then let's go through the study.
So why even bother pointing out that last year whatsoever?
Wait, didn't I give you a qualifier? What was my qualifier? That I actually think that left-wing violence, even this year classified, is higher. But I would be willing to concede the point at least that in this year it's higher if you do. But we do need to go through the rest of it for the purpose of classification to make a determination if you agree with these classifications. Both of you are unwilling to do it because you don't believe the classifications. You don't believe them.
No, let's go. All right, we can do it, but I promise you by the end of this, you're going to say, well, because the classifications aren't the way I would do it, and I haven't done a comprehensive
I want to make sure that the classifications are how you would do it.
What I believe is true. Therefore, I discredit the study. I have no other option to show that the left wing is more violent. I just feel it's true because I've seen more of it, and that's the end of the debate. Like, it's going to be a huge waste of time, but let's do it. Let's go through it.
Yeah, and I want to mention this too, Soypill, before we jump into this. Andrew, in his opening statement, said all the claims will hinge on studies. Soypill will likely tell you the truth. And then and he'll bring up all these studies. He's saying all the claims will hinge on the studies. He's dragging us into talk about these particular studies.
The things that your arguments hinge on? The things that your argument hinge on.
So the only person here that wants to talk about these studies is Andrew.
The only person here who wants to talk about your evidence is Andrew. That's crazy. It's almost like we're in a debate. It's almost like we're in a debate or something, Vince.
The whole study and then get to the part where Andrew says, never mind, I don't like it because I think it's going to be boring.
No.
Yeah, we
okay, well, let's just try it this way. If you don't want to go through it, maybe we can just try it this way, Soy. Would you agree with me? Would you agree with me that there's going to be problems in the methodology of classification that you likely aren't going to agree with in that study? Yes or no?
I think every study is going to have at least something that I would say, I'm not sure about that, but I would still use it.
He didn't answer the question. You see?
I think every study is going to have at least something that I would say, I'm not sure about that, but I would still use it as an aggregate and showing what is happening, unless there was something major. For example,
why would you do that? That's insane.
Listen, Andrew, because I want to give you this. This is a concession, all right? If this study, and this doesn't do this, but if this study said right-wing violence includes something like Wahhabist Islamic terror attacks, even though that I would acknowledge why they might say that, because it's like, oh, well, because you can classify this as right.
I bet you it does, actually. I bet you it does include Muslim terror attacks. I bet you anything.
It actually has an entire other classification for this, if you read it, that is religious extremism that is not left or right, and there's a good reason for that.
Except in that case.
All 3,000 people that died
except in that CS
right-wing violence, that would be ridiculous.
Actually, I believe in the CSIS, the way that they come up with right-wing affiliation is through religion. Just so you know,
there are parts of religious extremism that can be classified in the study if you read it, but not just religious extremism.
Yeah, well, this is why.
But this is here's the Christian nationalist terrorist attack, like with Dylan Roof, would be a right-wing extremist, but the fucking 9/11 attacks wouldn't be, and that's what I'm saying. If there was.
Bro, this guy just filibustering right now. That's crazy.
It's a methodology that extreme that said, yep, right wing includes 9/11. Yeah, I would say that's an incredibly flawed study that we can't take seriously. I don't think that exists in here, but if you want to point...
Have you read it? Have you read that study? The Truth?
Yes. I haven't read it word for word, but I have.
And what does that mean, though? Like, how much of it have you read? How much? The Truth.
Well, it's like 10 pages. So I've read, like,
come on, dude. Like, here's the thing, man. It's like... This is where the disconnect is. How are we supposed to even have a good faith debate over which side is conducting the most amount of violence if it's the case that the thing which you're banking on, which is evidence from these organizations, you haven't even read the very studies that you're banking on to show your position?
About it were the methodology, how they classified the different types of violence, and specifically looked out for major egregious.
You should bitch about it. You haven't read it. You haven't read it.
The one I just mentioned. Those are the things I did read through. Something I didn't read through would be, for
not
example,
in 10 pages. You didn't. You lying sack of shit. You didn't read through it in 10 pages. You read through the methodology in 10 pages.
What?
You just said you read through the methodology in 10 fucking pages, dude. Give me a fucking break.
The entire thing is 10 pages. I'm not. If there's a more in-depth version of this study, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the domestic terrorism brief that has been released that describes the methodology, the classifications, that shows the graphs.
Link it over. Let's take a look at it.
This is my problem with debates like these, where you introduce a study and you use that as your key point of evidence, because we really haven't seen many evidence coming from our opponents other than this study. And all this study shows is look at this number. Look at this number here. I'm almost finished with my point. Look at this number here. Oh, look, my study shows this number. Let's not look into the number. The number is just what it says. No matter what the classifications are, the methodology, no matter what the situation is. Well, okay, so here's my proposition. When we're analyzing which party is more responsible, we have to see the ideological backing and the influence that the party has had over the actions and mental states that cause these people to commit these violent acts. And we should also look at the impact that they have had. And when you look throughout history, modern history, the largest scope and scale of political violence has occurred from the left. Your presidents aren't being shot at. Your influencers aren't being shot at. You don't have conservative college campuses that are throwing riots and protests.
Wait,
You
by
don't
your
have
own metrics, John, can you
anti-Biden
point to these people that
protests.
tried to shoot Trump as having downstream messages disseminated by like Democratic politicians? For example, Thomas Crooks, which I still don't know if we've even
Donated to
established
Act
that.
Blue. He donated to Act Blue.
Did he not also?
Where did
like,
that show the
donate to
rhetoric?
Republican Party and or vote for them? Like, can
It
you show
shows
that
that
the
he's
rhetoric
he's
is
in
like
support
contributed
of
to
the
this? He also had
Democratic Party.
plans to shoot Joe Biden. I don't know if you knew about that, but like,
Yo, this dude, bro. Who planned to shoot Joe Biden, man? I mean, probably there was one word that they were trying, but the fact that they can even concede that multiple times the current president of the United States was targeted to be deleted. Even one of the most important, prominent right-wing figure got deleted. Multiple times that people go to these campuses, university campuses, are threatened to be deleted. No way you can get to this point and not concede. At this point, it's just, I don't know, clicks, I guess.
The whole point is like,
so I
yeah.
can tell you the Charlie Kirk assassin etched in.
Well, hold on. Do you see? Okay, you just moved off the point completely, John. Please, like, answer the question. Because
I think when you
agree
donate
with
to
that
Act
definition.
Blue,
you have
that's
to
a
show how the
very
ideology is influencing this. But if you're going to point to something like, "Hey, our presidents got shot at," it's like, okay, how is this happening? For example, if it was a Ukrainian person, I think there's someone pro-Ukrainian person was the one waiting for him on the golf course. I think there's a much closer connection that you could draw there, showing, hey, Trump doesn't care about Ukraine. He's a Russian puppet, blah, blah, blah. You could make a good argument there. But the Thomas Crooks one, like, I just don't see how that is somehow coming down.
the
from
argument is based
Democrat
off of the
rhetoric.
existence of the shootings, or rather than the non-existence of the shootings on the left. We have
Okay,
our
so
people
again,
who are being
he was
shot
also
and
had
killed.
plans to shoot
Your
Joe
people
Biden.
aren't being
So by
shot.
that same logic, you could say that. Okay.
Yeah, your people aren't being shot and killed. You have all these slogans that are etched into the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk.
Melissa
You have
Hortman?
Destiny, who's not condemning the killing of Charlie Kirk. You have the guy who donated to Act Blue, who shot Donald Trump. I don't see Joe Biden being shot at. I don't see Kamala Harris being
You
shot
keep
at.
ignoring that guy that you were talking about who tried to shoot Donald Trump and missed and died was also planning to shoot Joe Biden. If you're going to keep bringing up that example, but again, if you're going to keep bringing up these minutiae
This is
of
fucking
examples,
crazy, dude.
This is
even
crazy,
falls
man.
into
I agree.
Specifically, I don't know if these three things, by the way, were well, not especially not the ones that didn't
No, he
happen this
got
year.
targeted multiple times. No, I think like 6 or 7 times. But the first time that he ran for president, he got targeted like 3 or 4 times.
But the ones that happened this year, as per the study, if they're classified as left-wing violence, are included and are showing that there is more left-wing death this year specifically. That's just true. That's based on the
Oh
study. So if
my
you want to
God.
stop there for some reason, yeah, okay,
Crazy,
we can just
man.
talk about 2025. But like,
Okay,
ultimately,
you're-
we're looking at the totality, and you claim
We
like,
don't- but
well,
we don't
it's
wanna
because of
just
the
stop there.
fascism. It's because of the Nazism, and yet all these people were calling Trump Hitler fascist back in 2016. JD Vance was even doing it, and somehow this wasn't happening nearly to the same degree, and the right wing was much, much higher in those years. Why is this somehow now different in this year?
The protests were very violent. When
Well,
Hillary Clinton
because you
was
spent
denying the
4
results
years
of the
under 4 years under Joe Biden, saying that you had thwarted a threat to democracy and ousted a Nazi from office,
why didn't
and
it
now
happen
he
from
sees
2020?
power. Now he sees power again, right? Now he sees power.
You're very much missing
What do you mean, Crimson King? I
the
don't know what you're
point of
saying.
my statement. The point of my statement was to look at the scale and scope and impact of the things. The right has suffered more significant losses, damages, and impact that has been perpetuated by those with close ties to the left. And so, like, I didn't just cite the shootings of Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. That's why I also cited the riots, which again caused over $2 billion of damages. You had dozens of people killed. You have officers who are damaged.
Because you'd have to show that every single
Black
one
Lives
of those
Matter was
dollars
not
that
fundamental
perpetuated
to
and damaged
liberal
are directly
ideology.
tied to BLM and trying to do a political movement, and not a bunch of rioters doing stuff to do fucking rioting for no reason. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that none of this was because of BLM ideology. There were plenty of people that were like, I think specifically, if you look at the police station burning down, that's probably political violence. I doubt those people were just burning random fucking
okay, what do
buildings
you think
down.
about
But
the
you're just-
Minnesota Freedom?
No, man, they just wanted to
What do you
loot
think
the
of the
vending
Minnesota Freedom
machines, bro. They just wanted to loot the vending machines, you know.
in the police.
What do you think about
station.
Alexandria
In the police station.
Ocasio-Cortez talking about social justice when all these Antifa and BLM riots are going on? Like, what does that say?
So I've got a few statements from Kamala Harris. For example, by the way, so when that whole incident happened with the attempt on Trump's life, Kamala Harris said, "I'm deeply disturbed by the possible assassination to perform President Trump today. As we gather the facts, I will be clear. I condemn political violence. We all must do our part to ensure that this incident does not lead to more violence." Now, we already know Andrew Wilson has already said that these are dog whistles. So I'm sure that this won't be satisfactory. But there was also when she made a statement regarding the Charlie Kirk incident. She said, "Let me be clear. Political violence has no place in America. I condemn this act, and we all must work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." So again, when we talk about the Charlie Kirk incident, we talk about President Trump, we could talk about I think there were
bro, this dude right here, Vince, he's not. I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with this dude, man.
Yeah, I'm working as best as I can with what I got. So excuse me if the internet goes out.
It's better. I mean, it's better than it was. The thing is like the only frustrating thing is you know, I want to hear what you're saying, and you cut.
No, I appreciate that.
You cut in and out, so.
You should type out every statement before you say it. So as soon as you cut out,
no. So there's several different. Different bits of the where you see Kamala Harris and numerous other high-ranking profile Democrats again condemning these things.
Yeah, so Andrew Wilson did talk about the dog whistles. I do think there's a lot of that involved, but it's not just the dog whistles, right? You also are responsible for the climate that you create that causes these things. The difference between Democrats and Republicans is that when George Floyd died, you caused all these riots. When Charlie Kirk died, we hosted prayer vigils and that called for peace.
Yeah, because ultimately you guys have actually nothing to be
about. When you have Kamala Harris raising bails for these violent rioters, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, you should look it up. When you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying that we should respect social justice, when you have people standing in front of fires, calling arson and the riots mostly peaceful, and you have all these CNN pundits, MSNBC pundits saying all these things, you're very responsible for the ongoing political climate that causes people to engage in actions of this sort. And I think it's very clear that when we have these cases, you can't just bypass it by saying Kamala Harris condemned it, because Kamala Harris
This guy gave me a 10-page pamphlet that has all the studies linked at the end. I can't wait to shove that right up his ass.
I'm actually curious, like just on that one thing specifically, and this is not a gotcha.
Yeah, correct.
Show me specifically,
that means it's a gotcha, by the way. Don't listen to his bullshit
like, if
lies.
you show me specifically that she's like saying, here's the bail fund for someone who like committed an illegal act. And like in the same way, I would say, I don't think these things are proportional, but they are very similar, that Donald Trump would pardon someone who like did seditious conspiracy.
I've got the tweet.
I think that bailing out, no, I know she retweeted it, but I want to know like the crime specifically that these people did. Because if it was like what Vince was talking about in LA and hey, they got arrested or whatever for not leaving an area, I don't think that is equal to saying that this person is endorsing violence. But if you're paying for the bail of someone who burned down a police car or some shit like that, I could say that there's a okay argument there. I think the problem is here that you're saying, I mean, you said this in your opening, John, that the right always condemns this. The right doesn't participate in this at all. And I just think this is so ridiculous. I mean, to be fair, I know Andrew did say that, yeah, obviously the right's going to be part of some, crazy rhetoric or whatever. But every time we show you an example of a right winger, like, for example, this is a Donald Trump quote. If he says, "It is the enemy from within. They're very dangerous. They're Marxists, they're communists and fascists. They're dangerous for our country." Speaking about like the Democrats, right? Like this is somehow not at all responsible for any right-wing violence committed against the people who he's condemning completely as the totality. He's grouping this not as these small left-wing fringe people like you try to say when it's right-wing. He says it's the Democratic Party. Stephen Miller says the Democratic Party is the party of extremists. And somehow this is not at all responsible for not toning down the temperature.
It doesn't
like,
look. I haven't actually seen.
Analysis.
I haven't actually
Show me an example.
Yeah, show me the example of the links between that rhetoric and any of this so-called right-wing political violence. You can't. Not only that, just to refute this easily, Kamala Harris in October 2024 said that Donald Trump's a fascist during a CNN town hall, stating his actions and rhetoric echoed fascist leaders. She reiterated this in her speeches, linking it to his admiration for authoritarian figures, Hitler. All right, this is what she was claiming. So this is the woman who's running for president, and she's your party leader at this point, right? Your party's leader.
Yeah,
she's running for president.
Violence tied to this, please.
So the thing is like when, of course. Hey, fascist catch! Hey, fascist catch!
Okay, so again, so you think this?
Hey,
was
fascist, catch! Come on, man.
Disingenuous, man. Very disingenuous.
I think that the totality of the Democrat machine is working in unison for the message that Donald Trump and the right wing are a bunch of Nazi fascists, and that, yes, she contributed to that rhetoric greatly, and I don't see the same thing on the right at all. I don't see a unified message in the party saying that left-wingers are a bunch of evil fascists who are just trying to kill everybody. That's not what I see. What I see instead is I see on the right, they condemn political violence basically always. I don't see the fractional groups.
No.
I don't see the fractional groups
Well,
like you
no,
do
he's
with
saying no.
Antifa, things like this, who are, shut up, let me finish, who are doing these cell organizations for violence, who are linked to NGOs, who many of these NGOs are also donors to the DNC. So on the one hand, they're funding the riots, and on the other hand, they're also funding the DNC. It's crazy. How does that work?
I mean,
yeah, this is going to be a circle argument. It's going to keep going for a couple, I would say for a couple hours. And we're going to be entering the stream in a little bit. I'm having a little bit of problem here with when YouTube is trying to just promote my life. It's not doing it. It's just literally it's not doing it. So right now I'm just going through some of my analytics. It's not promoting my stream for some reason. But yeah, yes, like false labeling people is dangerous. It's very dangerous. I think this seems like this debate is gonna be just more of this circular argument kind of thing. I've been following national politics for quite some time, and actually one of the things that made me just move very right wing was the lefty violence. Thanks, man. Thanks, Spifey. And I remember when a lot of videos were coming out that Trump supporters were going to the venue to just see his rally. There was literally lines of lefties just throwing food at these people. So I cannot. This is the problem of people not going out, living life, just kind of feeling the environment. You cannot tell me you go to a lot of these places and the lefties are just acting normal. They're not. A lot of these places are not run by I don't know, common people, I will say. Go ahead, Crimson. You don't see the righty suggestion for mass deportation as violence? No, not at all. It's actually just following the law. Nah, mass deportation is not violence at all. Violence will be if, I'll put it this way, violence will be if the police is just beating the shiitake out of it and just deleting them right then and there, not deporting them. Deporting them is the most humane way to do this. Correct, Splifey. If you resist, then it becomes physical. Because I remember, federal law, the officers are there to just enforce federal law, and they're gonna use all their resources to just enforce it. That's the law, right? If you resist, then it becomes physical. Yeah, you should not. If you don't resist, you will be fine. They will deport you. They will give you a place to stay until you go. That's how fascism always worked before. Now, fascism doesn't work like that. Fascism work actually silencing oppositions, which the leftists are notorious for do so. That's just false too. No, it's not false, man. You actually got a small glimpse of fascism with Biden, the Democrats and Biden. Yeah, it is. That's exactly what the fascism did before. Nah, man. Again, I can guarantee you, if you live in a fascist government, you wouldn't. I don't think you're ready for that. I don't think you're ready for that. Remember, if there was a real fascism movement, you would not even be in my stream right now, just talking with different ideas. Because they're a fascist government. They will see your text, and they will just write. They will identify you and just find you and just do whatever the hell they want to do with you. It's not just on or off. Did you read George Orwell, the novel 1984, or did you watch the movie? Watch that movie and you will have a clear example and a clear picture of what fascism is. That's fascism. That's the literal definition of fascism there. The state controls everything. It's always the state. It's the primary enlightenment, right? It's the primary objective. I've been banned from a lot of places for just asking questions. I have been banned from a lot of places for just asking questions. What questions, man? You talking about the hat? The people with the hat? I define fascism. Go ahead. I wanna read what you have to say. I'll wait. Fascism versus communism. We both define fascism. You're going back on that definition now. No, I'm willing to just listen to your definition. Violence, suppression of protest, that's not fascism. Come on, man. That's not fascism, bro. That's not fascism. Fascism is the complete control of the government. It's a totalitarian ideology. That's what it is. You have to concede that fascism is basically just rejecting all type of liberal democracies. It is part of it. Let's say it is part of it, but it's not. Think about this. To be part of it, that means that the central government will be the federal government control every facet of everything in the United States. It's part of it, but that means that the central government has to control the entire country just to be considered. But in the case of the United States, it's not like that. Let's go through what the people with the mustache did. The people with the mustache, they went straight democracy. And the problem with the people with the mustache, they during the sessions, right, on their little Congress, I don't know the I think the Bundestag, I think what they call it, they created a lot of protests, right, to destabilize the system, and they managed to do it, but they got elected by democracy. Yeah, they did that, but they created a centralized government. In the United States, we don't have a centralized government. Our government is very, very, very divided for checks and balances. And think about this, because you see Trump's winning a lot of wars when it comes down to Supreme Courts, it doesn't mean that he's just acting fascist. He knows how to play through the system. This time around, he's just going through the system like he should. There's nothing wrong with that. So what kind of Supreme Court that he's ignoring? Can you give me one example of the Supreme Court that he's ignoring? I don't know what Supreme Court he's ignoring. I haven't seen any so far. By the way, the Maryland man, which was an illegal immigrant, he should have just taken the first offer, just go straight to El Salvador. Now he's gonna go to Uganda. Uganda probably is gonna deport him back to Salvador, and that's it for him. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I follow politics very, 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 very close. Trump's know what he's doing. Yes, he's a very smart guy, and a lot of people don't want to admit that he's a very smart guy. Probably IQ is probably 145, 150 easily, unlike Sleepy Joe. Yeah, very high IQ individual. He's a fixture. This is what he does, and Like I said, the Maryland man, the illegal immigrant from Salvador, took the first deal to go straight to Salvador. He will probably have a better chance to see his family again. Now he's never gonna see it. No, he did return it. I mean, the question is, did he return it? It's only took him like a week to return. He returned it, which by the way was the decision of the Supreme Court was wrong, because the Maryland man, Garcia, was actually a citizen of El Salvador. He was never a citizen of the United States. So the Supreme Court, by making that decision, did it wrong. Doesn't matter. This doesn't matter if I delete somebody. If I commit a crime, I get separated by my family. If I commit a crime, I go to jail, I delete somebody else, I get torn up from my family. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for me. So you think Trump is right and the Supreme Court is wrong? Again, Trump, the guy came, listen to this. The guy came because they brought him back from El Salvador to the United States to get due process. Even though he was never a citizen of the United States, he was a citizen of El Salvador. So by it all force, I think the Supreme Court had it wrong. The Supreme Court had got it wrong. Even though the Supreme Court getting the decision wrong, Trump still followed that court order. Because he was never a citizen in the United States. He was only a citizen of El Salvador. Yep. Yeah, look it up. He was never a citizen of the United States. Never was a citizen of the United States. He was only a citizen of El Salvador. Listen. The United States has no jurisdiction of people outside the United States. The United States has no jurisdiction in anybody outside the United States. So if you're legal here, you are in foreign land illegally. So the Supreme Court has no say there. He got back to where he belonged, to El Salvador. Those are the people that have jurisdiction with that person. And Trump administration still negotiated back. Exactly. The United States is the United States, not Latin America. People think that somehow the Supreme Court says here, now we have to bring that foreign from another country back to the United States to get due process when the person is not even from the United States. It's from a foreign country. That decision is stupid by itself. Still, with a stupid decision like that, you have to clearly respect the Supreme Court. That guy came back for due process. Now got sent back to Uganda. So now the sauce cost him more than the chicken itself. Yeah, he came back. He's celebrating because, he getting a due process. No, bro, this guy was a human trafficker, a criminal, and an MS-13. And if you're part of the community, I've been around the community when I was in New York City. MS-13 should receive no love, no empathy, man. I'm telling you right now, these people are disgusting. People are disgusting, and most of them are satanic. Either way, they practice Satanism. So you just believe them? Believe who? You are the one believing them. I'm just telling you the fact. He was a citizen of El Salvador. That's it. El Salvador is the one that need to just handle that problem, not the United States. We gave due process to somebody that's outside the United States. Does that make sense? We gave due process to somebody that's a foreigner of another country inside the United States. It's the way it's an illegal immigrant. The country where he's from told him, you're gonna stay here and we're not gonna send you back to the United States, even though they did. Now he got a worse deal. Now he's going to Uganda. In Uganda, check this out, he's gonna get deported by Salvador, and that's it for him. You're never gonna see him again. Yeah, everyone gets due process. Why would you deny that to anyone? Due process are only for those that are the citizen of that country. That's only listen, the concept of due process for anybody that lives in the United States, it's just a boomer concept, bro. It's a boomer concept. Due process is only for the citizens of that country. That's why you're a citizen. Nope, for everyone. Unalienable rights for the citizen of that country. For the citizen of that country. It's only for the citizen of the country. Nope. Exactly, for the citizen of that country. Otherwise, why would you have those rights? Everyone that is a citizen of that country. Citizen of that country. Yep, citizen of that country. Otherwise, why would you have a country? Why would you have even a citizenship? The concept of illegal immigration is a new concept. You have to understand that. No, you're confusing this. The concept of illegal immigration is something that it's just a mid-20th century concept. Even though we're dealing with a lot of illegal immigrants, this is a new concept. That is wrapped in false interpretation. It's not a false interpretation. It's just common knowledge that if you have these rights for being an American, it comes from these privileges. Yes, we didn't try to keep people out. Yes, we did. Franklin Roosevelt did. Theodore Roosevelt did. What are you talking about? We had no reason to. We still don't. Yes, we did. We deported a lot of people. What are you talking about? Yes, we did. Nations have been deporting people from the beginning of time. What are you talking about? The concept of illegal immigrants got out of control in the mid-20th century to the beginning of 21st century. Because clearly people were overusing it. People were abusing it. Nope, it's not like an exclusive country club or nightclub or club sandwich. It's a country. A country that's built by who? By who? By who? A country that's built by who? What makes a country? What makes a country? What makes a country? What makes a country? By immigrants? People that are what to that country? People that are what to that country? People that are what to the country? Citizens. Citizen, not citizen. Citizens. In that case, you will never have a country. You will have like a world, I guess. A world, and then immigrants built it too. No, settlers did. Settlers did. Not immigrants, settlers. Settlers did. Settlers built this country. Settlers. Settlers. If immigrants built this country, they should have gone back to where they came from and built their own. If immigrants built this country, they should have gone back to their own place and build their own country. But guess what? They can't because they never did in the first place. No, settlers were not immigrants. There was no nation here. Immigrants, it's only immigrants. Immigrants is a concept. It's a concept if you have a nation. There was no nation here. There's a land. Nah, that's not right perception. It's true. This was empty land. There were some people inhabiting like a couple acres, that's it. But this was uninhabited land. Settlers came here and built what we call now the New World. That's it. Because if you're using the same argument, you have to use the same argument to entire Latin America. Am I wrong? Are you? Let's say, okay, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You know what? I'm gonna grant you that. I'm gonna grant you that. Can we give the same argument to Mexico, Central America, and South America? No. We're not gonna skip that. Can you give me the same argument through Mexico all the way to South America? You have to give me the same argument. That means that the people that are residing on a lot of these places are simply immigrants. They don't belong in these places. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So let's start with them first. Let's start with them first. Let's kick them out of the land. Let's start with them first. Let's start with them first. Let's start with the Mexican, the Salvadorian, Nicaraguan. Let's start with all of them first. I disagree with your concept of belong. Okay, I don't know. Now you throwing. Now you're. Bro, listen, man. Listen. Clearly, you cannot apply the same concept to a lot of these third world countries because your argument will fall flat. If you're giving me the same argument regarding the United States being a nation of immigrants, you have to apply everything to Central American from Mexico all the way to South America. You have to. And you have to just show me that this concept is working already in those places. And they're working to just allow everybody to their country. But the problem is that they're not doing it. They're not doing it, correct? Yeah, they're not doing it. I don't care. See, here's the problem. You're saying you most realize many of the people you're agreeing with here will consider you not belonging simply because of your skin color or accent. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm an American guy. I'm very patriotic of my country, and I can give a damn what those people think about me. You understand? Really, I don't know. Really, I don't care. Some of those people that say that they're smarter than me, they cannot put one and one together. So I don't even. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. Those people are in power. If they're in power, they're doing a bad job. Bro, you have no idea. Listen, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm an American citizen. I'm a born citizen of this country. I'm a fourth generation. Because I have a little accent here and there, it doesn't mean that I'm a less American. I'm a fourth generation. My grandpa, my great grandpa, they serve in the United States military. You don't know what you're talking about. What paper, bro? I was born in this nation. What are you talking about? I was born in this nation. You don't have. I'm a born citizen. I'm an American citizen. I was born as an American. You have no idea. You have no idea. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care what. Listen, man. They have arrested citizens. Oh, okay, bro. All right. You have no idea. You know that. You know. Let me just give you some references here. You know that Puerto Rico, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, even during Biden, has the most strict border control in the entire nation. And Puerto Rico has the most secure voting process in the entire nation. You have no idea. You have no idea. In order for you to vote in the Commonwealth, you need to bring your ID. They will mark your hands, both hands, and you have to show your ID 3 times. And you think I have a problem if some Puerto Ricans got, raided or something like that? Hey, have your documents there with you. You cannot lock up an American citizen. But you say that they got arrested. You cannot arrest. ICE cannot arrest American citizens. What you're talking about? Yo, you're moving the goalpost so much. It's crazy. Yes, they can. They can't. No, you can't. You cannot arrest American citizens for deportation. That makes no sense. You cannot arrest American citizens for deportation. You know how much money you will make? Don't believe me? Look it up. What do you want me to look it up? Hey, American citizen just got deported by ICE. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. What? Yeah, I get it. Yeah. You know what's crazy? They always go to. You know what? They always go to this argument. Because I have my skin color and my accent. They always go to that, man. But if they knew, they have no idea, man. they have no idea. They have no idea. They think because I have an accent, I'm not an American, which is it's not the right perception. Now we're done with that now, dude. Yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I love that. Bring it on. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm okay. I'm okay. I wasn't saying that. Yeah, what you were saying. I was saying ICE doesn't care. Nah. You know how much money people would make if you were arresting Americans? Oof, bro. They would and have arrested people just for that. Listen, I can't arrest you, but if they figure out you're a citizen, they let you go. I mean, this happens outside of this. Yeah, there are lawsuits, of course. Exactly. They take time though. Nah, it doesn't work like that, man. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. It does not work like that. That's insane that you just accept that. No, you're insane for accepting that. You're crazy. You cannot arrest American citizens, born citizens. You cannot. Yo, I will tell you something. You know where Puerto Rico is? You know where Puerto Rico is? I want you to go there. And I want you to go to the ICE facilities down the island. You'll be surprised how strong those people are when it comes down to the border control down there. You have no idea. They're stronger than here. Look it up. Prove me wrong. Let's say, just listen. Hey, they probably arrested some weirdos, I guess, right? But when it's ICE, if they prove these people are citizens, they let them go. You cannot hold Americans. What? You just prove me wrong? You just prove me right? Listen, if I detain you, listen to me. If I detain you, because you're in the middle of the raid, I detain you. But when you go to the police, right, and you're American citizen, I cannot detain you. They cannot deport you. That's crazy. You just prove me right. Shall we go back to fascism then? Now you're moving the goalposts, man. You're moving the goalposts so much that I don't even know what we're talking about right now. I have no idea what we're talking. Bickering with reality, fine. I'm not reality. You became a monster all of a sudden. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. I don't know what's wrong with you. We moved of that, so I just want to go back to it. Okay, let's go back to it. What do you want to go back to it? Okay, let's see. So what's going on? So what's up with fascism? You're the one not in reality, cream. Nah, I don't know. Bro, if you're really saying that Trump is fascism, I would suggest to go to a place where fascism is a real thing. Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea. I don't know if North Korea you can go there, but North Korea, a lot of these Balkan states, some of the southern Balkan states, Albania, a lot of these places where you really have fascism, even Belarusian. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. What you have right now is just the battle of ideas, just right here, the marketplace of ideas, just battling with each other. And you have to understand, that does not mean that because one facet is much better or idea much better, hey, it might happen that idea might become popular because that idea is much better. Nothing wrong with that. We moved off that, so I just want to go back to it. Yes or no what? I don't know what you're saying. Yes or no what? I don't know what you're saying. You don't get arrested for talking against Trump. Not facts. Hey, good point. You don't get arrested for talking against Trump. And you know what's this about? It's the word Nazi. It's the word. Oh, Chitaki, sorry. Oh, it's the word nuts. Oh, man, that was clever. I have to give it to you. Yeah, I was clear. Yeah, but that was clever. I'll get you. It's the word. Okay. Maxi, right? Maxi? It's a Maxi. You're talking about Maxi. Maxism. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, listen, you don't live in a fascist country, man. You can talk whatever the hell you want. I'm off. I love debates. I love debates. A fascist country will not even allow you to just have debates, man. I don't know. So that means yes or no? I don't know what you're talking about. Deflections of what? I don't know what you're talking about. No, I really don't know what you're talking about. So you say deflection of what? We don't live in a fascist country unless you can really bring me evidence where Trump is just shouting speech, conservatives are shouting speech. Fascists. What fascists did was basically just shut down the opposition. Yeah, he just. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Kristen King, I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, fascism, when the people, the Maxis were in control, they eliminated their opposition. No, if you have an opposition, fascism cannot exist. No, if you don't eliminate the opposition, fascism by logic cannot exist. Cannot exist. Because that means that you have another idea going against it. No, if they were trying to do that, you would not have a supporter of Trump right here just having a back and forth with you. Yeah. All right, man. I don't know what you're saying. I have to go, but thank you so much for the live. I love this. I might just do, you know what I might do in the future? I might do this. I might do like a pull-up line. And also, that's all right. Don't worry, Kristen King. We can just go back and forth later. I'm going to create a Discord. And that way we can just have... Yeah, I love talking... Listen, this really helped me out with just going back and forward and really sustain my position. That's pretty good. You should do a debate live stream. Yes, I should. I'm gonna make a Discord. Oh man, I don't have Discord. It's okay. In the meantime, just subscribe to the channel. I think I had to do much better when it comes down to the live streams. It seems like somehow YouTube is not pushing my live stream. So Rumble and Gab, can you do those? I have a Rumble account. It's just that I don't have a lot of people there, man. I guess I can do a live in Rumble. Thank you so much. So what I'm gonna do is in the next couple of days, I'm gonna do a couple clips. I might choose Rumble as well, but I have an account with Rumble, but it's just there. I just put so many videos of Rumble and I only make like 1 cent out of those videos. It's just a little bit frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit frustrating. But I'm gonna do a couple Rumble. I should try like a double life of Rumble. You see what I'm saying? Like a double life. Yeah, sharpening iron is very important. I like that. That's very important. But I'm gonna let you guys know next time what it's gonna be the next live stream. Mostly it's gonna be Wednesday next week. And we can just go back and forward. I'm gonna do the Discord, make it more efficient. That way people can just have better they can have better notification when a video goes live. Meantime, guys, thank you so much for the support. I'm gonna see you in the next one.